reject, dipped out the scene. Jimmy steered the chaos, kept it lean and mean, no co-pilot needed. He thrives in the clash, controversies, the stash, raking views with a dash. Madness on the mic, sipping truth like it's gin. Every episode's a fight, who's the champ of the spin? Randoms on the stool, spill tales from the void. Jimmy plays the villain, but the people stay buoyed. Solo flight, no wingman, just the heat. Questions unscripted, got him squirming in the seat. Joe Rogan whispers, but Jimmy got roar. Clickbait machetes hacking straight to the core. Bar feels alive when the topics get steamy. Listeners keep clicking saying this fool's dreamy. Drama be the fuel, chaos be the plan.
Jimmy crack corn and I don't care. Let's go.
That's all AI.
I love it. Suno.
Today we got Mark Ballard, Dr. Mark Ballard.
What's happening, good people?
Dr. Mark Ballard.
There is a doctor in the house.
You do music. Are you guys doing a lot with AI?
No. You know what? We're purists, if that makes any sense. And it makes no sense.
AI is amazing.
AI is great, but there's a portion of you that feel like you're cheating when you're using modern day tools, and we just got to get over that little mental lapse. But AI is amazing.
Everybody else is going to do it. So where else are you going to end up?
With less talent.
Yes, absolutely. With a lot less talent.
They just can write a prompt.
Yeah, that literally, my wife put that one together in about 10 seconds.
I love it. I embrace it, but I got a whole bunch of people I got to drag along with me to say, guys, it's okay, it's safe.
Yeah, I mean, at least it's good. Like using beats, maybe could be something that it can put together that you can at least sample part of it or something.
Brother,
I mean,
let me just say, and I'll go public and say, anything you can do, AI can do it better.
Mm-hmm. That's a fact. I mean, there's no question.
It's the smartest person, conglomerate that we know that we can all talk to whenever we want to.
Yes, absolutely.
Amen.
Yeah, it really is. It changes the game, and it scares me because a lot of people that are going to school nowadays and things like that, I know for sure are doing everything with AI.
They should.
I mean, literally, they're doing their homework though. I don't want a doctor that did his homework with AI.
AI is as worse today as it will ever be. So if you can have to jar to your memory information, or it's at your fingertips, so you can then put other things in your memory, it's like having access to a calculator, but still wanting to use paper and pencil and a slide rule.
You're right. I think you're right.
Use the calculator.
I think you're right.
Yeah, I mean, you're not impressing anybody by saying, oh, man, I stayed up all night. Well, shame on you.
But it's my Uncle Dale always told me, because he counts a lot, and I would use the calculator, and he'd go, well, you know what, you're making yourself stupid. He goes, you got to use your brain. I mean, there's something to be said about that.
But didn't computers probably make us more stupid, too?
Oh, they for sure did.
But everybody has them.
Cell phones, everything.
Shucks, you got 4 of them across here. So.
No, I got 4 monitors, 1 computer.
I'm messing with you. But my point is, cars did not make us more stupid because we stopped using the horse and the buggies. It made us more efficient.
Cars, but phones and computers definitely, like for instance, when we were kids, you knew everybody's phone number.
Yeah.
You probably don't know anybody's.
Not even mine.
Right.
It doesn't even matter.
The way it is.
And I just zoom it to somebody. But I don't have to.
No, that's true.
I never have to again.
That's true.
I just say, call mom.
But what happens when you lose your phone?
You don't.
Yeah, you do.
You shouldn't.
Some people lose their phone.
Because you put it up in Google. You put it up on your iPhone.
No,
you got
in
it
the
stored
cloud. It's in the cloud.
It's everywhere.
Yeah, you're right about that.
And then you got old phone land somewhere that's got most of them. Are they on your computer? I back up things everywhere because I have lost everything before in the earlier ages. So what? We were smart. We learned.
Right. Yeah, that's true.
So we still got good common sense as humans.
Oof.
And that's where AI comes from. AI exists because humans made it happen.
That's a fact.
That's a fact.
That's a fact. But AI at this point, I think, can develop itself.
That's the scary part.
They can use it to better it even further now.
And there's such a race of everybody to outdo everybody. Mm-hmm. It's like all gas, no brake.
Yeah, and America can't stop.
We need brakes.
We need to keep going because if America stops, China will take over. If China stops, we'll take over. You have to do it.
And for every good deed, there's a bad guy who's going to try to use it for something sinister, and we have to prepare for them and make sure we've got brakes and stopgaps in there for the bad guy.
Yeah. How do you do that, though? We can't control what China's doing.
Because AI doesn't have a feeling. It don't care. It's just going to do what it's asked to do. It's not emotional.
How do we do that? How do we control? That would be something that's interesting. Is that they need to get a way to? I know, like China steals a lot of our technology.
We build cars. They made them better.
I don't know if they made them better.
I'll go back to the Japanese. In those days, they became the trendsetter back in the late
Japanese
80s.
did. I don't know about the Chinese.
I was just saying, for an example,
You're right.
we come up with the initial because America's great. Our brain power is great. But then we go into mass market and they go into perfection. So the government will take care of their families for generations. And your only job is to sit here and make this better, 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 better. Tap into what's going on in America, steal the intellectual property as best you can, and let's improve on it. So they wait for us to build it. Then they take and they try to perfect it. Doesn't always work, but that's their goal.
Yeah. I think that's part of capitalism. I think capitalism helps. I think it helps drive.
We're there already. We're at capitalism already. Let's go, man. Good morning.
I think capitalism drives that
mass production,
innovation.
Yeah.
I think it does help with it. Capitalism has a lot of bad parts about it.
Yeah.
But it certainly has enough that I think that's what I think it's added to it anyways. I think it's definitely the reason we have the innovations and things that we have today. I believe anyway.
We've been in my lifetime, and probably a couple generations ahead, America has been so blessed. We've always known what first place in the championship felt like. We've never had to be anything less than the champs.
That's true. That is true.
But we've not always been the champs.
No, we haven't.
And I'm not sure if we will always be the champs, but in my lifetime, God has blessed me to have a time like this for me to be here. And it's good to be in first place.
Yeah, you've seen a lot of stuff. So you're from Lorain. You grew up in Lorain.
Born and raised St. Joseph Hospital.
Me too. I was born in St. Joseph myself.
Born in St. Joseph. My mom still lived in the same house I was born in. I went to 3 schools. I went to 4, actually. I went to Emerson, Fairholme was my elementaries. Longfellow was my career for junior high. Lorain High School was my high school career. Never had to change phone numbers until we went from 216 to 440. The rest of it stayed the same. I've been blessed, man. My home is still my home, and it's still standing. All the schools are gone.
Yeah.
All the neighbors are gone.
Is Fairholme still gone? Fairholme's gone too?
Well, they've made it into some charter schools and things like that. So the buildings still exist. But the ones that the Lorain City Schools had, they knocked them down and started over, which they needed to.
Yeah. Well, that was part of like all that funding that they had to do, all that stuff.
All that funding. There's so much all that funding going everywhere. But yes, we got 14 new buildings in Lorain City Schools over the since the 80s.
Yeah. But that was part of lottery money, right? Or no? Am I crazy? Is that what it was?
No, we did a bond.
What did they do with the lottery money? It's a lot of money, man.
It's a lot of money.
I don't know.
And then they get greedy and start charging you $5 a ticket for the power, whatever the big one is. Not the Powerball, but the other one.
Mega Millions.
Yeah, they want
that what it is?
$5 a ticket. I mean, it went from 2 to 5. Doesn't make any sense. That's greed. So even if half the people stop, they still make more money. So
yeah, they make a lot of money. It's an outrageous amount of money.
And there's no cost.
But I thought that when Lorain, I remember when they built like some of the school, like Lorain High, I thought that we got bonds, but I thought we had to match a certain amount they were giving us. So they did give us some money.
So it was a lottery, not from the Ohio lottery, but the state school board did the initial purchase, and they helped underserved communities revamp, revitalize, and rebuild new buildings that couldn't afford to do it themselves.
Oh, okay, I got you. That's what it was. I thought that was a lot. I thought
less
that was
than
lottery.
20% of our local money is what paid for our education here in Lorain. Most of our
20%?
money, less than 20%, comes from our housing stock. Most of it comes from the state being realigned, reassessed, because we have a lot of needs.
Yeah.
We feed our kids 100%. There's a whole lot of SNAP programs that go on here because there's just not. I mean, budgets are high. Teachers want to get paid, and just the money that we generate doesn't sustain. I mean, you take a house like when Avon Lake was nothing but grass and woods. Now everything over there is close to $1 million.
Right.
So there's a lot of money that comes. We still got. You can find a house in Lorain still 25, 30 grand if you look close enough.
It'd be tough. That one's tough.
Well, it's kind of leaning.
My dad just bought one that's a fixer-up for 40, and it needs a lot of work.
But you get the point.
Right.
Yeah, you get the point. It's not $1 million average, right?
No, God, no.
Not $1 million average.
So when you went to Lorain High, when did you graduate?
1986.
86.
The best class.
86. So was there like did some kid commit suicide in the cafeteria or something? Was that when you were there?
No.
I always hear rumors that there was like at the original Lorain High that somebody committed suicide in the cafeteria or something crazy.
I don't remember that. When I was in Longfellow, Mr. Darmerfall, one of our counselors, was shot by Sherman. I forget Sherman's last name.
Was it Longfellow? Is that what it was, Longfellow?
We were on CNN for school shootings before it was cool. This was like the late 70s, early 80s.
No kidding.
Mm-hmm.
What? And
was
he
crazy.
was just a counselor?
The counselor got shot. The guy was pissed off at the principal. Earl Whittings was his name. And Mr. Jones, who was the assistant principal, went in to try to solve him. But then when he came, I was right next door in the band room, and some of my friends, even Sandra was coming through, trying to, she was in a study hall in that cafeteria, and she and Sherman got along. But when the gun came out, and he took over the class. And then when the teachers came, counselors came to try, and he meant business, everybody started to scatter. So Emerson was right across the street from Longfellow. Some of them darted out the door and ran over there. Some of them darted into our band room, and we started pushing pianos and really going through. But it was something.
So you lived through a school shooting?
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Right here on the east side of Lorain. Back in, like I said, I graduated 86, so I was in junior high, 81, 82. Yeah, it was either 79, 80, somewhere right in there.
Wow, I had no clue.
Yeah, right here.
I knew something like, there's always been that rumor. I thought it was Lorain High, though. I didn't think it was Longfellow.
Longfellow.
I knew it was East Side people, but I didn't know it was.
Yeah, nothing like the good East Sider, buddy. Yeah, if you want to get ready for life, come to Lorain, Ohio. And if you want to really get ready for life, come to the East Side.
When I was a kid, I lived most of the time. My grandmother had a house on Camden and Homewood here. But my mother, when we first moved out, we moved to the East Side.
Yeah.
And we lived above the Silver Lining. Do you remember that?
I do.
The little thrift store.
Absolutely.
The little, what was her name? Gina, I think that ran it.
I remember the names.
I used to work with her when I was a little kid. I would stock for her, and she'd let me. I didn't usually get too much money. I usually got goods like a Kiss album or something like that, something different.
The good old days, man. We used to have A&P over there, was our grocery store, and used to have ice rinks up there at Longfellow Park that we could go and play in the summer, and then in the winter. And in the summer, they would open up the Parks and Recreation. We can go in there, do arts and crafts during half the day. Little League was everywhere. I mean, had a great childhood.
So did I. I thought Lorain was great, but I probably moved over there when you were probably like in 10th grade is when I lived over there, somewhere in that range. And I was just a little kid. I'm only 51, so yeah. I was just a little kid. I moved in, I think, in 4th grade in Fairholme, I believe.
Okay.
3rd or 4th grade. Something like that.
What great days. What great days.
I loved it over there. I did. I loved it. I spent a lot of time there. After my mom moved me back here, we moved to the 30th Street Projects, but I would go over there with my friends. I had friends and just go hang out there all the time. I was always there.
Yeah, we used to, we were talking the other day. So there was the high level bridge, there was the let up bridge. We didn't know Henderson's and
right.
And then there was the trestle.
Yep.
The trestle went right through the center, and it was like, man, when you look at the trestle now, it's like, what were we thinking? I mean, we had 2 train tracks coming through that was going east and west. And when the trestle came, it was room for one and no bodies. And if you were in the middle and the train was coming, you had to haul it because...
What did you think you would do? You thought about it. You thought about it because I did too. We would cross it and you'd be thinking, what do I do if one comes?
I was like Jesse Owens, man. I hit that train track. I was fast as I could go, buddy.
That's what I would do too. But I used to think if it happens, what do I do? I used to wonder if I could hold on to the side or something. Not jump, but hold on to the side. I didn't want to jump. That's high. That thing was way high. And I wasn't sure how deep that water was under there.
I used to think if my mom only knew what I was doing, if I didn't die, she would kill me.
Yeah, when I was a kid and we would go on the trestles and stuff like that, it reminds me of like that. What is that? Stand By Me or something? Remember they're on the train track or whatever. That's what it literally, when I seen that the first time, it was what I thought of was that trestle when I was a kid. I don't know why we did that. I don't even know.
Childhood in Lorain, Ohio will prepare any kid for life. You could take a kid who's really thoroughbred from this area and drop them anywhere in the country, and they'll survive it.
From Lorain.
From Lorain, because think about it, man. You grew up with the steel mills, through shovels, Ford Motor Companies, and all those kind of places. So you had the migration that came up from Mexico of those people. You had the southern migration of the African-American field people. And then you had the New York kind of came down from the buffaloes and all those that went into the plants. And so the plants became one big melting pot, which means the community became one big melting pot. So you look to your right, and there may be a Hispanic family, and to the left there may be a Polish family, and right in the middle an African-American family, and those were your best friends.
Yeah, absolutely.
You didn't realize when they went off to St. Anthony's or Jane Lindsay, and you went off to your blah, 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 or even when you had to go play sports across town, your cousin may be on the Irving team, but you would start fighting your cousin because somebody did something to one of your teammates who was like your family.
Right.
And you learn that togetherness that, no, I love you, cuz I see this weekend at grandma's house, but this is my crew here. And it's a crew of, the Motley crew. You know, we're just...
Guido tells a story, and it's a East Sider. It's Brian Rowe. He used to live on the East Side when I was over there. Mm-hmm. And... he tells a story where he was in a fight. It was like 3 or 4 of them, and they're South Lorrainians, and they're fighting with the East Siders, Brian Rowe and his buddies and all them. And the cops come in and break it up. Okay. And here they've been fighting the whole time. And they're kind of being rough on Brian Rowe, I guess.
Okay.
And that's the opposite side, and Guido's the one who steps in and goes, come on, man, that's a little bit too much, don't you think? And they've been real close ever since, but he talks about it all the time, he mentions it, and it's just the way things were back then.
There's no place like Lorain, man.
It's just different.
Place. Yeah. Everybody's mom and dad would discipline. Everybody's mom could tell you to do something and you better snap in.
Do you remember the first time you had Puerto Rican food, though? When I was a kid, man, I fell in love with that right away.
Yeah, because my mom, so we were church people, and my mom she had 3 boys, and then she had 3 or 4 of my other nephews or cousins or whatever that she raised. So she would have our outfits made for our singing group. And there was families that would, like the Miss Gideons and Santiago's and people that would make our clothes. And you would go in there and you would get this smell. It's like, man, I don't, it's like, whoa. At our house, you got fried stuff, right? You got the chicken, right? No pun against the chicken. But you went in other places, it's like, man, they got a lot of garlic here. They got a lot of sazon here. They got a lot of, and that's where you start, man, I like pierogies. Yeah. Man, I like rice. Yeah. It's like, give me a rib and give me some rice, And
when I was a kid, when we would go to Miss Benjamin's, it was fried chicken, a lot. And
we perfected
cornbread
and greens.
And greens, collard greens. And then they would eat sometimes I never would eat it though. The chitlins, they stunk too bad. But they would do that too, but it stunk too bad for me. I'm not doing it.
My mother still makes soul food at the International Festival. She's been doing it for more than 30, probably 40 years now. And there's still all races of people who stop at her booth every year to get a bowl of greens and cornbread.
Yeah.
They said they look forward to it every year to come and get a bowl of greens.
Oh, greens and cornbread are amazing.
And then we jump out of line and we go over to to Ruben's booth because we got to have pastelitos and we got to have Brunel and we got to have
Right.
Yeah. And then I'm coming back with the pierogies or the cabbage and noodles, and those are like classics to me.
Yeah, and because that's how you grew up. You eat at your friend's house. It was different. It wasn't like it just wasn't the same.
And
it was different and it was cool.
And you know what? Sometimes they'd say, call your mom and say if it was okay. But if they were eating, sit down, boy. You know, and it wasn't that.
But we didn't have a lot of like Jewish and Muslim people that couldn't eat pork and stuff like back then. That was the one thing that was missing in our community.
Yeah.
Because I see that with my son now, like. His friends come over to eat, and we have to be careful. We have to look and make sure, okay, there's no pork in here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just out of respect to their parents or whatever.
Well, if you remember back in those days, every church was kind of built, every community was built around their churches. So if you went to St. Anthony's, you lived somewhere in that proximity and you walked to Mass or you walked to church. And then that kind of, so they didn't have many of, now the Jehovah's Witness did have a place over on Creekhor on the east side. And they became more and more a bigger unit as they grew there, and they recruit pretty heavy. So that was a Saturday morning knock at the door that we would all get, but we didn't have a lot of the.
We used to harass them. I swear to God, we would see them and just talk shit. And I feel bad now, but I did.
We would close the curtain, and then we would start whispering in our own house, so they would just go away after ringing the bell. But you know what? If anybody worked hard for what they believed in their religion, it was those people.
Absolutely.
The young, the old, and they would sit there. And, you know, sometimes as we got older, a little more sassy in the mouth, we would start to challenge with what we thought we knew about the Bible. But they were pretty well versed. So if you weren't, so if you didn't know what you were talking about, you'd be like, well.
I didn't know nothing about them.
Makes sense.
I knew nothing about them. I worked with a Jehovah's Witness, and I said something about, he said something, he was trying to talk to me about, you know, and I said, I'm a Christian. I live for Jesus. He goes, I do too. He got so upset. I go, oh, you do? I didn't know. How did I know?
And they know more about it than we do.
Probably, because they spend a lot of time in it.
We will get the one-liner, say, oh, no, I go to the Catholic Church or whatever, but they do spend a lot of time knowing the differences.
Sure, absolutely. Absolutely. And all of them that I know now are good people. But when I was a kid, I definitely was
we were kids. We were kids. You know? It's like, and we hadn't gotten so emboldened that, you know, this is my door and my doorbell. I'll answer it if I feel like it, just like we do with our phones now. Now we can do it and ignore it, but back in the day, if the phone rang, you almost felt led to answer it to the point where if it rang,
you didn't even
much,
know who it was.
No ID. But if you get led too much, you would just kind of take it off the hook, so it would ring busy. But that's before call waiting and all that stuff, because you just didn't feel right not answering it.
Right. And that same with the door. Nowadays, if someone knocks on your door, it's like,
if I'm not expecting you,
who's knocking on my door?
Yeah, if I'm not expecting you, you can ring till your hands bleed. you can ring until your hands bleed. Because everybody's day is so structured. We don't have time for surprises.
Yeah, that's probably true. That's probably true. Mm-hmm. So when you went to Lorain High, did you play sports?
I did.
What'd you play?
So we didn't have AAU when I was a kid that I knew of. We had Little League, we had minor league, so we all played baseball in the summer. Then when I got to Mrs. LaForest had kids, was one of my teachers, my fourth grade teacher, and her boys, Wade, and matter of fact, her granddaughter is like this big sports person on
Miss LaForest?
Yeah.
Really?
Oh yeah, she was big for the Cleveland Cavs, her granddaughter. And now she's on CNN. I mean, a huge deal. But her son, Wade, let me take it back. Her first husband, Mr. LaForest, Jack LaForest, and my uncle used to drive bus together at SBS. So Mrs. LaForest, she took care of business. Now, she was one of those no-holds-barred. She wasn't going to play. Okay, so you know exactly what I'm talking about with Miss Nancy. So a lot of the people thought that she was this mean person, but she was just very structured. And she became my favorite teacher of all times. And she took I was a chubby kid. And
really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, I was a chubby kid. And because of that, she took a liking to me, and she knew my Uncle Roy, she knew my Uncle Sam, and she used to have her son come from high school. We had a little weight room at Longfellow with Mr. Racinko's weight room. We would come in either before school started or after school was over, and Wade would train me to develop me because they knew I liked sports. They knew I had a pretty quick personality, and she became a fan of mine. So she would bring him there, and he would become my trainer in 4th, 5th, and 6th grade.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And even when I'm on the Lorain City School Board and was president for a while, but even there, she would call me at least once a month just to say, I'm so proud of you. Thank
Really?
you for what you're doing. And I always knew, yeah, Miss LaForest was amazing.
She did not like me, I don't think.
Okay.
I was a bad kid, though.
Yeah.
I was a bad kid.
She told my mom when I was in 4th grade, he's a good kid. Never accept anything less than an A from this kid.
I think she told my mom that, too. I think she told them all that.
Maybe she told us all
I swear to God, I think she did.
Well, I appreciate it. I took it serious. And my mom took it more seriously than me.
I think she did. I swear to God, I think I remember that.
So B pluses were not acceptable for me in my house. And the book of Nancy LaForest was often quoted, like she was a biblical scholar or something. It's like, that teacher said, blah, 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 blah. So I just knew I had to keep it up. So that was a great strategy, if that was her strategy back then.
I think that's when I became a bad kid, was when I got to 4th grade there in Fairholme. I think so. Before that, I was just a kid, you know what I mean? And I started acting up, I think, at that point. I mean, I did okay, but like by 7th grade, I was in Charleston and all that stuff, you know what I mean? I was just full on bad. But my East Side friends were older. We did things where I wasn't supposed to be doing.
And that group of people,
Yeah. So I just was different.
Yeah. Love it.
So you did play sports, and then
I did. I'm sorry. I played. So when I got to junior high, coming out of baseball, I went right into football because that started in July. Well, actually August, but we would start our little conditioning in July. Right from there, basketball would start up, so we would still be finishing our football season and missing part of the conditioning for basketball, but we were always conditioning on the football field anyway, so we went right into basketball. And from there, some of us was just work out with the wrestlers because it was wintertime, and that was the winter sport as we got ready for cross country. I threw shot put and those things there. So yeah, I played every sport. And that helped me get unchubby when I was in junior high school. I played.
They say team sports too teach you to just in the real world to be a little more successful, because it teaches you to work with people, to root for other people, to help other people, and rely on other people,
and to win as a unit and lose as a unit.
Yes.
And that's one of the LeBron James things. Anytime his teams don't do well, he takes full responsibility. And anytime they do well, he gives it all away to the team.
Yep.
That's what you learn when you play team sports. Even better than wrestling. Now, wrestling, you got to get in there and do it for yourself, even though you can win and lose as a team. But when you're playing...
LeBron's in a unique situation because he grew up with those boys that he started with originally, and he relied on their families, I think, because his mother was like a single mom and didn't do very well. You know what I mean? So it's different, I think, for him than Michael Jordan, because Michael Jordan had his mom and dad, and he didn't, he was a little more selfish, and you can be when you got parents, and that's okay, I think. But I'm a LeBron James fan.
I am too.
I love LeBron. I don't think he's the GOAT. I think he's great. I think he's second, but I don't think he's the GOAT.
I think you bundle him up into a full package, nobody's done it better. What he's done in his communities, what he's done to keep respect with his family, the way he still yields respect to his mom, the way he's been scandal-free with all that money and attention coming right out of high school.
He was well prepped coming out of high school. Oh, my God, was he well prepped?
By whom? Himself.
Well, I think it was his coach.
There.
I think Coach helped a lot. I think Coach did help a lot.
You've got to have a pedigree to be a championship. Anything.
Absolutely. No, you're right. But I'm talking just off the court, he was well versed, well prepped.
I don't disagree.
He was definitely. He was great to watch. I'm glad I got to see him from start to finish. You know what I mean? I've seen him
in his era. See, we're a little spoiled because you say you're 51. He's been in the limelight for more than half your life, and he's younger than you.
Yeah.
He's been in the limelight. He's got 20 years in the pros, and Shaq and Jordan and those guys were coming to see him in high school. And he went from high school right to a starting lineup for the Cleveland Cavs with nobody. You and I could have put
With
on
the
a
whole
uniform.
team on his back.
Yeah, you and I could have put on a uniform. That's about the equivalent of what he had, and he still made him compete.
Yeah.
So when you want to talk about the GOAT, for me, hands down. Give me LeBron, you can pick the next two.
But when I talk GOAT, I'm saying if you put a team together around Michael Jordan, and let's just say you put the same pieces behind Jordan and the same pieces behind LeBron, I don't know that LeBron wins that contest.
I do.
You think so?
Because
he is good at making his people around him better. I will give you that.
No matter where he has gone, no matter who was there, they made it to the finals because he was there. Without Pippen, before Pippen, Jordan didn't happen. The Warriors happened because of LeBron James. And the Warriors would tell you that. LeBron James forced the Warriors to build the greatest team that money could ever buy for one purpose. How do we beat LeBron James? And nobody cared that he had Boobie Gibson as his go-to guy. No disrespect to Boobie. Yeah, no disrespect to Boobie. He made it to a level I would never make it to. But he's not going to be Klay Thompson to Steph Curry.
He won that game though. He got us in our first finals. Well, LeBron did it in Detroit. If you remember, I don't know if you remember the game or not, but LeBron went off in Detroit. To me, still to this day, one of my greatest games I've ever watched. I actually have a T-shirt of him dunking on Rasheed at home because he clears them and dunks on him. And it, to me, was the greatest game. I mean, he was unstoppable. There was nobody else on the court helping him. You had the toughest defense in the NBA that had won 2 championships on defense.
Yep.
In his face, and they couldn't stop him.
Go back to what
It was unreal.
when LeBron.
But Boobie Gibson did win the next game. He did.
when LeBron's teams are not successful, he owns it. It's all his fault.
I agree.
When they are successful, his teammates did it. Now go to your GOAT, and I'm going to assume Michael Jordan is your GOAT.
Absolutely.
Let me just say that. Or Kobe and those guys. Their attitude was, give me the ball, F the rest of you all. This is my game.
You say that, but Michael Jordan led the league in defense. He led the league in assists. Michael Jordan will tear your heart out. He was the type of guy that you just didn't want to doubt him. And I've seen LeBron, when he gets doubted, not get that heart out like that. Like, he just doesn't have that. He is a great team player. He's a great teammate. I agree. He's put together a great team. He's made people around him a lot better. But Michael Jordan, I mean, he wants to cut your heart out. He doesn't ever want to be looked down upon or thought of as a loser. And it's not even just in basketball. It's in, like, they were talking about Tonk. He's like that, like golf course, whatever. I mean, he wants to rip your heart out. I mean, it's just, when you talk about competitive, that's a man that he just wants to rip your heart out.
Yeah.
And LeBron doesn't have that killer instinct. I've seen it here and there, but it's not on a daily basis.
It's a job, bro.
Yeah.
It's a job.
I get it.
So
but
used to be a time when Lyle Alzado and those guys were playing football. They would throw lime in your eyes and, put nails in the cleats so they can cut you out. I mean, it's a job.
That's shoeless Joe Jackson. Get out there.
It's
coming
a
in
job.
heels first.
So for LeBron to be able, people get mad now because there's not the bully and the rivalries, and I hate you on that because you wearing other uniform, and it's like the killer instinct, right? It's like, bro, we come here. This is our screw that we shoot it forward. We just put a ball in the hoop instead. So we don't have to
on the court, you can't, though.
You don't have to hate each other.
I mean, look at Larry Bird and Magic Johnson. They hated each other on the court.
For what?
But they were best friends off the court.
After years.
Yeah, not at first. Not at first. You're right. It was when they first did that commercial for McDonald's or something, right?
It comes along.
Yeah.
Then they realized it's pretty silly. This is
Maybe.
pretty silly. But for
It
us,
made for great basketball.
yeah, and for us being a shot town guys, like, yeah, you know, we like to have the villains and the good guy, right? Not that both could be good guys and they just have more athletic ability.
There's a problem with media. They keep talking about basketball numbers are down, like how bad they are. The problem is you can't even watch. Like, I know multiple people that are like, I can't watch Cavs games.
Yeah, I
I
agree.
mean, in our hometown, we can't watch Cavs games.
I agree.
That doesn't make any sense. Why? I mean, your numbers are down, but you're making it unviewable. You're limiting it because you're streaming it only here or only there, and
But by it being unviewable, they're still able to offer the players maximum deals, more money than they've ever made in their life. And they're making single basketball players, billionaires with a B.
but it's slowly disappearing, though. Over the last 4 years, the ratings at basketball have dropped dramatically, and it's not a coincidence that in the last 4 years everybody's going to streaming services, and it's like that. Those basic network channels are gone.
in America. But it is starting to expand abroad.
But they're going to stream too. They're more high tech than us because they're coming in late.
I'm talking about the audience, though.
No, right.
So you take a guy like Bronny James, who's not his dad, but he's just as good as the average new kid coming into the NBA, right? But he's got the number one. But he's got the number one selling jersey.
Yeah.
So why wouldn't a team pick him up if it's about the economics of the team? Why wouldn't you pick him up? Like this thing that happened with Shador, primetime son. Silly for everybody that thought they'd play that game for hee ha ha. Let's dog the dad out and think that the son's no good. When we finally got him in Cleveland, we picked up the kid that was off the field, the most bankable kid in the NFL that came in that year. And on the field, he's going to deliver because he's just made of that stuff.
He is made of that stuff. You're absolutely right. I seen it. I think he is too.
Sad that happened.
And I'm a Dion fan too.
Yeah, I get me too.
Yeah, I mean, that was.
But shame on us. Shame on anybody that would hold my kids responsible for anything that I did to me or pissed them off.
I mean, I've dealt with that my whole life.
But at that level,
Yeah, no.
what a shame.
I don't think Dion pissed anybody off. I think they're just worried he'll run the show. I think that they're afraid that he'll outshine everything else. Like I think because that's just who he's primetime. I mean, that's what he did in Colorado. I mean, he took over.
I'll be so glad when somebody decides they're going to hire him as an NFL coach.
It's going to happen. And it's probably going to be Cleveland.
I hope so. And I hope he wins 12 Super Bowls in a row. Because he's got
I would think that would be great.
Yeah, he's got that stuff.
Yeah, he's got that heart. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's got that heart that I'm talking about.
And it doesn't just show up when the cameras go on. Because I know people that knew him when he was in Mississippi and how he really got involved with the community, how he really got involved with those kids, how he really got involved with those kids' parents.
And he's very faith-based, too.
Very much so.
Yeah,
Back when he was in Texas, 100%. And they get angry because he's confident into whom he is. And we don't like for certain people to be confident.
Not me. I love cocky ball players. I love it.
Now, Brady and those guys could be as cocky as they want to be. Everybody can't be. And that, I know this can really shift our conversation into another. But when the wrong ones are too cocky, we're saying they're too cocky, even though how many people can be on one of the world's greatest baseball teams and football teams at the same time?
I don't think that, but I don't think that that's unfair.
Okay.
I don't think that you can say Tom Brady is as cocky as Deion Sanders.
I was just using him as an example.
But you know what I'm saying? He's not as cocky. You got to admit, Deion Sanders is the cockiest of them all the way across the board.
He's outspoken.
I mean, the only one cockier would be like Babe Ruth back in the day, or
he's outspoken.
But what do you mean?
Deion Sanders is outspoken because he understands that his shucking and jiving, kind of like Muhammad Ali used to do.
Right.
Gets him bigger endorsements deals. It gets everybody that comes into the locker room is looking for him because he's going to give them a soundbite. That's just part of his marketing.
No, that's probably true. Mm-hmm. That's probably true. But I don't know anybody that hates on Deion Sanders. I think they're nervous about him taking over and becoming the coach and things like that. I think they're nervous about that. I do agree with that. But I don't know that anybody has hate for him. you can question if he's the guy or not.
The one thing that, and it's my son's not there, but the one thing that I think that could have been detrimental is early on, as they were coming out of the draft, knowing that the kid should have went in the first 2 or 3 players, he was saying where he knew he did not want his son to go. And he was hinting on some places. And I felt like Cleveland was being slighted in a way as he was making some of those statements. But I think as people were saying that, they were like, wow, the guy should be grateful. Even though he's a good athlete and he's prepared himself all of his life for that, the guy should be grateful that his son gets to go and play at this high of a level, going out this high.
Anywhere.
And I think they wanted to kind of slap him around a little bit.
Maybe. I'm kind of glad that Shedeur didn't go high. I think that he needed it. I think that was good for him. That puts that chip on his shoulder.
That's like saying, I told you not to eat so much candy, so your tooth fell out. So I think that was good for you. So now you know what I said was true.
No. That's not true. Sometimes you need knocked down a notch. Sometimes you do. When you're sitting on and he didn't need the money. The money part of it don't matter.
Even with dogs these days, they say don't beat the dog. So I don't know if
that
I
don't
agree.
make them right.
I don't know if I agree with you got to be humiliated or reduced in your confidence to make it okay with the rest of the world.
No. It has not. I'm talking about that. I'm not talking about it. I'm talking about that. I don't think you can kill his confidence. I don't think Shedeur Sanders. Yeah, I don't think you can kill it, but you can put a chip on his shoulder. Yeah, you can make him want to prove himself.
You're knocking, but he's been proving himself ever since high school.
He hasn't proved himself at this level yet.
As much as everybody else has.
I don't know. I don't know about that.
Have you seen all the things that he did when he went to 2 or 3 different systems?
How many NFL quarterbacks that didn't win a championship or were in the top 4 or were even in the bracket, how many of them even ended up even in a top 3 or 4?
So that's like saying LeBron, who is one of the greatest to ever live, but because he was in the Cavs, he can't be considered a great ball player.
That's the Cavs. That's different. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that's not what I'm saying.
I know, but I'm saying it's the same logic.
What I'm saying is that those top tier guys are guys that get
they can win it all. They can carry the other 22. They can carry the other 22
that have been close to there. That top 4. I'm not saying that he didn't deserve to go a lot higher, but when people say he should have been in the top 3, it's like, well. I mean, to me, Will Howard, why did he go so far back? And why did Cleveland let Pittsburgh pick him up? I don't even understand that. Yeah. There's a guy who's won a championship and did it on his own back. I mean, he was doing a great job. So, I mean,
I'm still grateful he's coming to Cleveland. And I got my jersey already.
Shedeur Sanders?
Oh, absolutely. And I'm going to get every color I find every time I go in the store. And I'm going to wear them. I'm going to wear them to church.
I don't disagree that I'm glad he's here. I just think that it helps. I think it's a big help to a kid like that. He doesn't need the money. So it doesn't even matter about the money.
How do you know?
What do you mean?
His dad's money is his dad's money.
I get that.
I mean, that's when Bronny James started getting his contracts, you can't say, he doesn't need the money because his dad's money is his dad's money. And they will tell you, people like Steve Harvey and those guys say, look, that's my money. And they don't just...
But he can live off what he made anyways.
Yeah, he could.
That's all that I'm talking about.
Okay.
What I'm saying is like a guy like Allen Iverson or LeBron, when they came into the league, they were trying to look out for their aunts, their uncles, their mom. Everybody needed money in it. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. He don't need that. He just needs a chance to prove himself.
Okay.
And here you are. You got the chance. You don't need the money of it. And I think that, I'm telling you, I bet you at the end of his career, I hopefully we see it, but at the end of his career, I bet you he'll be glad that it went the way it did. I think that it's. I mean, because
that's all he will know.
Sometimes you just need somebody to doubt you, just enough for you to go out and prove it. You know what I mean? If you blow smokes up somebody's ass constantly, you know what I mean? It's just not gonna be the same. I don't think.
Yeah, I don't always agree with that.
I mean, it's one thing to build. Some kids need character building, and some people need knocked down a notch just because they're a little too cocky or whatever. I don't know that he's cocky, but his dad definitely is, for sure. I don't know if he ever was, honestly. I mean, I've seen him, and he's doesn't seem like it when I see him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that could be wrong, but I think it's going to make him where he's got something to prove, and I'm looking forward to seeing him prove it. And I think it'd be amazing. But at any rate, I don't even know how we got to that.
Had nothing to prove, and he was cocky as anybody you've ever gonna know.
Manziel
did 100 mile an hour with his car, beating up his girlfriend and all that stuff, and the same stuff. I mean,
but he was garbage at the end of the day.
And we gave him the pass.
I didn't. I never was a fan. I was a fan of Baker Mayfield now. Okay. I loved Baker Mayfield. I was a huge fan of Baker Mayfield. I was not a fan of Johnny Manziel. Nobody gave him a pass. He's gone. What do you mean?
He's gone now, but he
was gone pretty quick.
We rolled out the carpet.
We did roll out the carpet, but he was gone pretty quick. You got to admit that.
Because he was a buster.
Right. Okay.
He was a buster.
Right. But that's going to come out. You know what I mean?
But nobody had to knock him down before he can get a chance to go.
They should have. I think if they would have knocked him down, I think it would have been better off for him. I think that if he would have been, but they did hate on him. They hated on him. To say they didn't, that whole money thing, remember they used to do that? They hated on him. Don't say they didn't hate on him.
All right, brother.
Now that you bring up an interesting point. I guess we'll get into it, I guess.
I knew we were going to get into it.
We have to get into it a little bit.
That's where
Do you fully believe that 100% all the way that just
I don't know what you're going to ask. I don't know what you're going to ask, but no, when you load it up by saying, do you fully believe with everything in your being that 100%, because that's a no to everything. But go ahead and finish your thought.
Do you believe that so many people are driven by race? More people are driven by race than not. Do you believe that?
I believe that it's been scientifically proven.
But do you discard the fact that Irish and Italians did the same thing to each other?
Look,
that's just a question.
Yeah, and I'm gonna say this. So I'm not in a world that oh man, you think your story's bad? Let me tell you mine, because the reality is you could probably find an exception to every rule, but for a race of people that have had to live like some of the, and I'll say modern day, because you could take some of the shine off of the African American story now and put the light on Palestinians who are trying to live in America today. They get viewed very differently than some of the other people who come in, whether it's from Guatemala, whether it's the Indian.
Only if they got a backpack
on. Point taken. Now you get my point. But we have lived it so long that we're like, get over it, right? They're telling us, get over it. And it's tough to get over it when you don't have, Uncle Ben who can hire you to teach you how to be the meat cutter. You just got to get in and try to be the guy that can bring in the carts from out in the parking lot to get your shot 10 years later after you prove that I'm not going to steal, I'm going to show up on time, and blah, 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 blah. And everybody else that's in that same line don't have to go through that same process of proving yourself.
I do. I did.
There you go. You're making an exception to the rule again. There's going to always be an exception to the rule. But I'm telling you, as a general force of people, you didn't have to have predominantly white colleges built because they weren't letting you guys into campuses.
Okay, that was years ago.
You keep discounting there. You ask a question on how we get there, and it's been.
I'm talking about today, though.
But you just can't leapfrog today without proving how you got here. I feel like it got worse
than it was 15 years ago.
Yeah, well, you got Trump.
I don't think Trump's been nothing but good, but to black people,
man,
his whole life.
You need to talk to some black people.
I do talk.
And
to
if any of them say you that, they're just telling you that because they want you to buy them a beer downstairs. Because Trump has not been good to black people.
Well, how come African American unemployment is way down since Trump took office?
Because we know we can't find a job.
What do you mean?
We just stopped going out to look for them because we can't. People are now what they're doing. They're selling plates out of their living room. They're selling, or they're going and they're buying a $100 lawnmower and saying, "I'll come cut your grass for $20." No benefits to it, no retirement to it, none of that good stuff. But it's like, you know what? We've been locked out of that process.
You believe that? You believe that
We
wholeheartedly.
live that. I'm telling you.
You aren't living that. You aren't living that.
I am not. See, you keep making exceptions to say, use me as an example. I'm going to be okay. I don't care who gets there. I will figure out I'll be okay because that's the way I'm built. But if I did have a little chip, or if I didn't have influence, or if I didn't have a good mom and dad, and if I didn't have a good name and built relationships over those years, and I just kind of got here and moved here from Iowa or somewhere, all things being equal, I don't have the same advantages that you. And I know you're going to tell me everything about you that's different now and that you had it harder than me, but that's not reality because when I walk in the room, it's like, oh, I bet he's lazy. Oh, I bet he steals. Oh, I bet he's the liar. Oh, I bet he, and you got to go through all those emotionals if the
I don't
people.
think that happens.
Okay, I'm sure you don't because you've never had to live it.
I really don't think that happens.
And you know what, Tuck? You and I are friends. But I'm telling you,
I think that when you walk in a room, I think that the first thing you notice is that you're black. But I don't think the second thought is.
There's a whole line that comes under that column that you just said.
But I think that they notice that. But I don't think that's it. I don't think that at that point they decide you're lazy or. I don't know anybody that does that, Mark. I really don't.
I hear you.
And I think it's part of the problem because when you set up, like you made a comment to me when we were over at your radio station, you made the comment that you had to teach your kids to fear the police. And I thought that's odd. And then I looked up some stuff and I was researching some things and I heard about the black family has the talk. I guess you probably are aware of this. The talk.
I've given a plenty of them and I've heard of plenty of them.
But I seen in there something that contradicts what you say, that they said that the black family, they think needs to pay more attention to, and have the talk still, to protect their kids, like you say. But the fear thing has to go away. The fear, I think, is causing more problems. You shouldn't want them to fear the police. But as a kid growing up, I feared the police when they came to some degree. I mean, I did. But I had respect for them 100%. But as soon as you put it in somebody's brain that this person is out to get you, who may not be out to get you, that this may be an honorable person that has no racial integrity whatsoever in them, you know what I mean? But it may also be somebody who doesn't even mind anybody at all. And as soon as you set that situation up where they're thinking that, rather than being open-minded and just thinking about getting home and being safe. You know, like my dad always told me, hands on the wheel, be careful. I mean, your cops pull you over. I was afraid of them. I was a tucker. So in Lorain, being a tucker was far worse than being black because my parents had proven they were assholes. You know what I mean? They had been in a lot of trouble. They had... You know what I mean? Bradley got my dad off on murder in '79 when I was a kid. So, I mean, having that name I had to be careful in my own set, right? But I think that there's a problem, like Tamir Rice is a perfect example. For one, I don't blame the officer that fired that shot. I blame the officer that drove up too close.
Before you move too fast,
okay,
and we can get back to Tamir.
But this is about fear, if you let me finish.
So before you scoot some... Okay, go ahead.
So this cop drives up right away, and he puts this officer in a bad position because when he comes out of the passenger side of that car with Tamir Rice, he's right up on Tamir Rice. At that point, you're heightened, you're worried, you're too close. I think he should have been backed off. They should have seen what the kid was doing. The caller even realized that it was probably a fake gun. But when that cop got up to Tamir Rice is tongue-tied and can't talk to the officer. And I bet that's because of fear more than respect. Had he had respect over fear, he might have talked to him instead of being tongue-tied. And it might have saved his life. And that's my opinion. I don't know. I'm not living that life. And I don't want to discard the life that I know that they do have it. I know that assholes exist. I know that racists exist. I know that. I realize that. I think it's less than it's ever been, but we hear about it more than we ever have right now. That's how I feel. When I see the people in my life that are around me that are white or Hispanic or whatever they are, when I was a little kid, you would hear racist stuff. You know what I mean? You don't hear it. And in my world, I don't hear it. Maybe people have that respect for me and don't do it, but I don't hear it no more. So how all of a sudden is it on the news every day? That's the part I don't understand. That's what confuses me.
So when I was a kid, the Klan didn't really wear their outfits openly either, but they existed.
Yeah, I mean, the Klan has always, I mean, they were marching in the 90s in Cleveland. Remember that? I couldn't believe it. I thought that was crazy.
So let's fast forward to 2025. I've been district director for Congresswoman for Washington, D.C. A lot of big accolades I've had. I'm a chaplain for the Lorain Police. A chaplain.
I don't even know what that means.
Exactly. So I get to go and I give them spiritual guidance, help. Families are in distress. We go in and we talk to those families from a religious point of view to make sure that we're the balancing act for that.
Sounds like what it is.
But if you just go into what just happened in the Lorain Police Department.
With Middlebrooks?
Not just Middlebrooks. Let's talk about Chief. Dear friend of mine. But you talk about the fear factor that don't exist. But he was just let go. And he's a friend of mine, so I don't want anybody to misconstrue what I'm saying about Jim McCann because he and I are friends. But he was let go. Look up why he was let go and some of the main things that was said coming from the chief of police that made that happen. So to say that we shouldn't be fearful when it's coming at that high of a level, things that are being said, and it's in the newspaper, so it's not like I'm telling about anything that's not popular. And I don't think that's his heart. So don't misunderstand what I'm saying. But most people don't know him like I do or like you do. And when a chief says that, that becomes part of the talk that you have to have. So you, in your world, you can give your opinion and say, you don't think it's really that way and that we're just filling our kids' brains with a bunch of malarkey and all that stuff. But some people take what they say, even if they're playing about it, they take it to heart. And there's some jacked up cops out there that believe if they can fulfill those wants, needs, and desires, they'll shoot up the rank. And some of them probably really don't care a whole lot about us anyway. And now they just got permission to do and become, there's my guy. He's going to do exactly what I want him to do. And that's why we fear and we try to get home and try to get the money and take our better chances in court than we do on the street. Because even when common sense, because a man is still a man, and you get out there with common sense, and this guy gets called in, he don't know what's going on, and he's telling you to shut up, sit down, and barking all these orders, and now all of a sudden, what's been welling up in you for years is now you're living in the middle of this, and you cannot defend yourself. And a lot of times, your children, your family, all those people are around. So now you got to make a decision. Do you acquiesce, tuck your tail, or do you stand up for what you believe in and says, look, we're not taking this anymore? And that's where that dilemma starts on why you have the talk to say, what's best? I know how you're feeling because I feel it too. But get home, let us lawyer up, and let's go handle it on Monday. Or let me come and get you so you're in one piece, so we can make sure the story is told to the proper people. That's why you have to have the talk.
The talk, I understand, but not the fear.
Well, I'm telling you.
I'm afraid of the fear because I don't like the idea that out of 20 police officers, you might be right, there might be 2 that are horrific.
What if you get the 2?
But what if you get the 8? And you're at this, and you're not.
Hopefully, the 8 will take the time to understand that there's been experience with the 2.
Well, it's hard for us to understand. It's hard for me to understand you. I can't understand what you've been through. You can't understand what I've been through.
Correct.
I mean, I
won't discount the Tucker experience.
No, it's a prejudice for sure. I've been sleeping on a couch, and I've heard somebody's mother say, "That's a Tucker. You got to get him out. What the hell did you bring a Tucker in the house?" Like I stayed the night at the house. You know what I mean? And then the morning they find out I'm a Tucker. Don't realize I'm, awake and I'm on the couch, and they're yelling at their kid, "Get that damn Tucker out of their house." Yeah. Like, I mean, I've had it happen, and I'm okay with it. I live with it. I almost, when I was a kid, I thought I had to do it. I was embracing it. That's why I was bad. thought it was something I was supposed to do. But when I got older, I realized that's stupid. But at any rate, I can't say that for your experience and what it is or what other people's experiences have been. I do know that, like you say with McCann, I've had many conversations, white guy and white guy. I've never heard a racist thing come out of his mouth. Although I've heard that he has said some things. Now, Middlebrooks, I don't know. That one, I thought Ray Carrion reviewed the case, and somehow that still came back on McCann. So I thought that was the whole point of Carrion doing it. And I've thought Carrion was an honorable guy. I mean, I've always thought of him as, I mean, I think he's a stand-up guy. I think you know him too, right, as a stand-up guy?
Ray's an amazing guy.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine him to be anything but on point with that. So
Jim is an amazing guy.
yeah.
In any interaction I've ever had with Middlebrooks, he's been an amazing guy. You know what I'm saying? So I don't have an opinion on any of it in any way. I'm sorry that all of them are having to deal with this situation. But I was just making the point on those kind of things inflict fear for people who are far removed from the whole thing and don't have the intricate interactions with any of them. It's just better safe to be safe.
No, and I'm okay with that. I just don't want that like, oh my God, like this is going to happen right now. I'm scared to death. I don't like that. I don't think that's a good thing.
Welcome to reality.
It might be a reality, but it also changes your reaction to the police officer. 100%. And I don't think that's fair for the police officer. The police officer has a pretty tough job. Yeah, I mean, they have to, unfortunately, stereotype every person they pull over. Unfortunately, they just do, and it's in my opinion, you have to. And I'm not talking race. I'm talking, like you said, sideways hat, or the car smells like weed, or whatever it is. You're going to put a stereotype to the situation. You know what I mean? And they're always in that spot, and they can never come up with a like they're in danger at all times. At any given time, they could not come home. And that's a scary thought too, and you can't discount that either. No. You know what I mean?
Nope.
But at the same time, when you say that they pull up, and that, like you were talking about, the young kid that was over your house seemed like a nice kid that was doing yard work for the place. And he had the sideways hat. He did not look like a punk or a thug, by the way. And in that instance, that kid didn't. But I've seen them where they do, right. and white and black. I bet when they wear their hat sideways and act crazy. And I can see where you have to stereotype that to some degree. I mean, wouldn't you or no? If you're a police officer and you're pulling over a kid, the car smells like weed. You know what I mean? It looks like a little hoopty. There's about 4 of them in the car. They all got their hat on backwards. I mean, you don't have a little bit of a stereotype?
So
you wouldn't?
So in 2025.
Yeah, in 2025.
Life has been drastically altered for most of us, where weed is almost equivalent to cigarettes now.
It shouldn't be.
But in our mind, weed is still, must be a dope head, right? That's not what the law says anymore.
It doesn't matter. It's still a gateway drug. It says alcohol is legal too, but if you smell alcohol coming out of the car.
Yep.
I mean.
But so do they have a weed monitor now?
They should.
But I mean, I'm just telling you, in 2025 today, where are we? Reality, not where our opinion think it should be. Reality says weed now has to be kind of. Now, if I'm running an airline, do I want my pilot to be buzzed? Not even on Coca-Cola. But the reality is, if there's no law against how much sugar he can have, you cannot use him eating or drinking too much sugar or caffeine as a rule against him for you to stereotype him.
But you got to admit that you shouldn't be high driving a vehicle.
I don't disagree. So why did we change the law?
I don't know. I'm anti-weed. So I mean, anybody that knows me will tell you. To me, I'm the one person that goes, it should never have been legalized. I think that, for one, it did a couple of things. One, it tells the young kids it's okay, which I don't like.
Okay.
We did it when I was young. I did it. I don't know if you did when you were young. I tried it when I was young.
I've never tried it in my life.
I did it a little bit when I was young.
Never.
But I knew what I was doing was wrong, and I didn't accept it as acceptable. Now at this point, parents have to argue with their kids whether or not this is a good or a bad thing, and it is clearly a bad thing. All research shows that people that smoke marijuana at a young age, they stifle their brain, and they get stuck. Maturity level, not mental, not intelligence level, but maturity level. They get stuck at a certain maturity level.
I agree with all that.
And it's proven facts that I mean, they've done tests on it. Yeah. So it's not a good thing. We don't want our kids doing it. And although they, I'm just definitely not team weed. My mom is. My mom smoked pot my whole life, but it's never been my thing ever. But and I think they need to find a way to test kids or people that are driving vehicles and that whole thing. But either way, my point is would you stereotype coming up or not?
Like I said, as you were painting the picture, though, you were painting the picture to make it okay.
That's because I don't like weed.
Yeah, exactly.
But okay, let's say we smelled alcohol coming out of the car. Or let's just say you smelled alcohol, and four kids had some backwards, and you see a 40 in the car. What do you do?
I've seen police. I've talked to officers that call the kids' parents and take them home. And I've seen where everybody in the car is going, even the kids in the back, everybody in the car is going downtown. And I've seen those split on different lines. I'm not saying that happened in Lorain, but I'm telling you the difference is, and I go back to, it's been scientifically proven that even in the medical field, there's this thing called preeclampsia that females have. Birthing babies and the babies don't stay to term, doctors will postpone the treatment to African American women because they assume they can tolerate the pain thresholds more than non-African American women. That's been proven.
You're trying to say black women aren't tougher than white women?
I'm trying to say.
Is that what you're trying to say? Is that what you're trying to say? Is that what you're trying to say?
I'm saying that logic works.
That's just a fact.
I'm just saying that logic works. But when all of a sudden my heart attack can be delayed by another 90 minutes because we believe Jimmy's can't take it, that's an unfair advantage that Jimmy has over me. And then I die more.
That's not something that happens with heart attacks, is it? It's just preeclampsia, or I don't know. I'm just asking.
I'm using preeclampsia as the example that I know the facts on because I lost a grandchild to it, and my daughter's has taken up the mission of it. So I've heard more from doctors about it. Yeah, it's a little more personal on how they treat it or not, and who they take serious with the same identical conditions. How it's treated differently.
Okay.
And that's at national hospitals in major cities who've done studies and research.
Yeah, I don't doubt that I'm sure that it happens. I'm not saying that it doesn't happen.
I'm not twisting up, so don't
I'm not saying it doesn't happen. I just hate that it's a broad, I hate that it's a broad stroke paint that's going on. But because I have a white son now, that's good. My daughters, I don't worry as much about, but my white son now is growing up in a world where he's being like he's actually being like the evil person, and there's not. He doesn't care what race anybody is. His best friends are Muslim, they're black. He doesn't care.
Sure.
I mean, he just doesn't. It doesn't even. In fact, you know what? I would be embarrassed to say I would probably be embarrassed for him to listen to the podcast right now. I would just be embarrassed because he would just think he would think so little of me.
Right.
You know what I mean? Sure. That's just, and I don't like the fact that he's getting painted with that broad stroke, and it aggravates me. So I guess it's a defense thing on my end. I'm not saying it doesn't happen. I understand it does happen. I think it's less than it's ever been. Doesn't mean it's zero. And I don't know that it can ever get to zero. Is that, you think that that's something that's possible, that it can get to zero?
No, because then we'll start hating on fat people or tall people or short people. We'll find a reason to find why I deserve a break that you don't, or why I'm jealous that you get a break that I don't. And we want to cancel out like, well, you were never a slave, so why should we have to do slavery stuff because you got a 400-year advantage over me?
Well, I'll give you one
I can't get there.
I'll give you one thing. Slavery, I don't even think it is insignificant. That's just something that you like. Maybe you don't know about. Your dad actually picked cotton, but not as a slave, correct?
Not as a slave, but
So-
they did live on Mr. Charlie's land,
Right.
And to get compensated, they got an acre of land after working his 100 acres of land, and then they had to grow their little fruits and vegetables on the side that they could then take to market and sell.
Oh, okay.
That was
That's
the
how he
commerce.
did it.
That was the commerce.
Was it a come up or no?
Well, his mom and dad just had to keep having more and more kids. I mean, they had 11 kids to try to make
okay.
it work because that was the tractors.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, that's your dad definitely seen ridiculous racism, and he's from South, right?
Humboldt, Tennessee, Jackson,
Yeah.
Tennessee, and he's the one that had guns put to his head by police officers. My dad is more mild-mannered than me, and people saying, "Oh, somebody's going to die tonight," coming from police officers, and they had to try to sneak off into the dark to try to get themselves back home, so they didn't get hurt that night.
Sure.
And
Yeah, he had
those
it
were
rough.
those
Yeah.
are true. But his experience becomes the talk that I have.
Sure, I get it.
So
I get it.
my experience becomes from the experience I got from my dad that I didn't have to have to my kid because my dad is my hero.
And part of that is
This
like,
is the way he
do you remember
lived.
the movie? Did you see the movie The Butler? I think is it The Butler? Is that what it was
I
called?
saw pieces of it.
That was a great movie.
Yeah.
And the thing that's unique to that is I remember that he was in like, here I am, I'm in the White House.
Sure.
You know what I mean? And his son wasn't happy.
Right.
And I remember that there's a point in that movie where he goes, where the switch flips, like, you know what, he's right, I don't need to just accept this. You know what I mean? And I get that part too. I understand that. I seen it and I'm like, wow, that's powerful at that point. You know what I mean? That just like that's because the younger kids obviously are probably a little more cocky about it, or were at one point, and that's probably more your age that his son was, I think,
Right.
if I remember right.
Yep.
Probably real close, but I'm not discounting. I definitely don't want to discount it. And I don't want you to think I'm discounting it. I just worry about my own son. It's a defense thing that I can take it. I don't care. I don't want him to deal with that, where it's like somebody looks at him differently or somebody, you know what I mean?
And so you're clear. I don't paint in broad strokes either, because I truly believe I could toss you a key to my house, and if I had $1 million $1 bills laying on the table, and I said, now don't touch this over here, I believe if I came back in 18 months, every serial number would still match.
Oh, yeah.
Because that's where we are.
Yeah.
But that's who we are. That's not who everybody is. So most of us live within that 80%, right? But
Agreed.
Those 20s are the ones that kind of throws everything off.
How do you fix that? You can't fix that. Won't they always exist or no?
Probably.
I mean, I think they
But
will.
you have to address it.
Ignorance is always going to be there.
But you have to address it.
Do you?
Especially when they become chiefs and presidents and kings.
Come on now.
I'm just telling you.
Not Trump, man. Don't do it.
You said it, not me. I'm just
Trump.
talking about the positions.
Kings is not in. There's no kings.
Whether you liked Reagan or not, you could respect his positions.
Reagan?
Yeah. And I've been a Democrat all my life. Let me just verify and say that. I've been a Democrat forever. But there's some people that make sound decisions. And there used to be a time in politics that once the elections were over, we all became Americans again.
Yes.
We're not there. We're so
That's
far
social
from there.
media. That's social media.
Blame it on who you want, but that's our reality.
Well, you didn't see it. It wasn't in your face constantly. Where it is
But it
today.
still existed.
It may have, but but it wasn't like in your face like it is on social media now.
Yeah.
Social media has and that's, I guess that was the point I was leading to when I said like it's gotten worse. It's gotten worse because of social media is what it is. That's the truth of it, is that social media has, it gets people just talking. It gets people saying ignorant shit. It gets people sending memes that are racist to each other. There's just so many things that go on with social media that just.
But I'm looking at Holly on the news this morning.
Holly who?
Holly, the senator,
Oh, okay.
with you all's big, beautiful bill. And what's going to happen with Medicare and Medicaid. Totally against it. But he voted for it anyway because he don't want to piss Trump off. Because Trump, in my opinion now, I don't think Trump is a true conservative. I don't think Trump is a true.
I think he's a Democrat all through and through. He's not Reagan.
No,
He's not Reagan.
No, he's not even.
His beliefs align with Bill Clinton's.
Yeah,
That's where they're at.
I don't disagree.
But
I think Trump is a Trumper.
right.
I think he's
He's unique
world to himself.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think every yard that he gains, you're thinking, okay, this would be it. That, you know, he'll acquiesce and become presidential now. He uses that plus everything else to get to the next place. Now, even when a Republican can't disagree with him or he takes them out, that's way too much power, because we'll never get back to the point where both sides of the house can sit and say, okay, what's best for all of our people? Not during his time.
Not during his time.
Not during his time.
Not during his time.
But the pendulum swings, bro. And it's got to correct itself.
I think
And
that
that's-
Trump is going to change how people are presidents from here on out.
I don't disagree with that. because
I think
there's
he's
gonna be a
changed the
distrust.
game.
There's
I
gonna
think
be a
he's changed
distrust.
it.
Nobody's going to trust anybody for the next
I don't
50
think
years.
that's true. I think that people trust Trump. I know Democrats don't, but I think the rest of the world does. Although
Hell, we're half the
this
people.
Epstein thing is freaking people
Think
out
about what you just
that
said.
he didn't release it.
I think people trust Trump, except for the Democrats. That's half the country.
Well, I'm not saying that.
More than half, and they just don't vote.
Well, I'll put it this way. When Obama came in office, I believe that Obama did everything he said he wanted to, or tried to do everything he wanted to say. The things he campaigned on, I believe he did, and I believe he thought he was doing what was best for the country. I don't believe that they were best for the country, but I believe that he believed that. I believe in his heart. I believe he was honest. I believe he told everybody what he wanted to do, and I believe him full on. I don't believe that with Clinton. I don't believe that with Bush. I don't believe that with Joe Biden. I believe that with Trump too.
Okay.
That's the two that I've so far in my lifetime that I've seen where I believe they're doing what they said they were going to do. Other than this Epstein list. This Epstein list is the only thing that sets Trump up to be a liar. It's the only thing.
You got to stop watching Fox.
I'm telling you, I've listened to his speeches, and he's doing exactly what he said.
No. You rushed by it. If you think the only lie this guy has told was about him and Epstein weren't buddies, then you need to
He didn't say they weren't buddies.
Let me because you do a really good job of fraying what I'm saying to kind of throw off the topic. If the thing that you believe that all he talked about that was dishonest and untrue was about the Epstein conversation, you need to get a broader.
I'm talking about
base
the
of-
list that's out right now.
I know what you're talking about.
That's all I'm talking
But
about.
you're saying that's the only thing that you believe that he said that's not true, possibly.
It's the only thing he hasn't done that he's tried to do in this term. Now, in the first term, he screwed up by not fixing Obamacare, which I would have hoped he would have done, but he didn't. Okay. But in this term, he's doing exactly what he said he was going to do. Okay. There's no. I mean, can you give me an example of a lie?
I'm not going to try.
I would have.
Because you won't believe it. Because you're just going to explain it away.
That's a cheap cop out.
It is, because you always want me to do these absolute 100%.
No. But you're saying it's a lie. Well, I mean, you're saying he's a liar.
Let's go back to the 38 women. You think all of them lied on him too, just because he got money? Every one of them.
I don't think any of them said he raped them.
Okay. Like I said, you need to expand your news.
No, the news never said he raped them.
And yours didn't.
Well, yours got sued for saying that he raped somebody.
He sues everybody.
He won because he never was accused of raping him.
Okay.
I mean, he wasn't accused of it. He wasn't never found guilty of raping anyone.
I think he was impeached. I think he was it 38 counts?
34 counts of something that everyone has done.
Okay.
Every business owner, you're telling me
down to his level.
No, but none of that's lying though.
Okay.
None of that's lying. So, first of all, we'll take the 34 counts. This has to do with him valuing his properties. Mm-hmm. You don't think that's a joke? You don't think that's ridiculous that they even went after him for that? You don't think Letitia James did something ridiculous? And especially now, she's going to get in trouble for doing the same thing.
I'm speaking to the point of you saying the only thing that he may have not told the truth about is what's coming up with Epstein. I'm just trying to. You told me to give you an example.
He said he would release the list, but you didn't give me an example of a lie.
Okay.
You haven't given me an example of a lie.
I'm talking about the counts of the women, and I'm talking about the 34 convictions that he had.
Yeah, he was.
You don't think those are lies?
Well, the business evaluating a property and saying it's worth it, he's proven that he paid the loans back, and he's proven that that property was worth it.
Okay.
He's proven that property if he gives a property a value and the bank comes in and assesses and agrees with that, that doesn't make him a liar. They gave him the loan on it based on that. They didn't go by what Trump told them. Would you? You've been on a bank board, haven't you?
I've never been on a bank board.
Oh, you never have?
I've never been on a bank board.
If you were sitting on a bank board and somebody came in and said, my building's worth $1 million, are you going to check into that? Are you going to get your own? I mean, that's just the way it works.
Okay.
So that's a ridiculous charge. That you knew that was a ridiculous charge. And if that charge was charged on Obama or Joe Biden, you would be like, what? Are you guys kidding me?
You have a candid way of making a statement, defending a statement, and then when it doesn't work out the way you say it does, you explain it away to ridiculousness.
No, I'm
not what it.
I'm not trying. I'm just telling you. You're saying he lied. And you're
I'm saying he
pointing
was
towards
convicted 34 times
for saying that his property was valued at more than Letitia James valued his property at.
And then you want to always compare. You all start to compare him to everybody else to make him as low as they are, as high as they are, and we're talking about him.
No. I'm saying the values that they're saying he lied about are based on Letitia James, what she brought in and said they were valued
And
at.
the whole
It never has.
system agreed with just her opinion with no facts to
But
back
the
it up.
bankers that actually loaned the money agreed with Donald Trump's opinion, and they got paid back their money too. On top of that,
I'm not talking about the payback. I'm talking about the convictions.
there's no crime there. There just
So
isn't.
you get convicted with no crime. Okay.
That absolutely happened, and if you think that didn't, I'm sad for you a little bit.
Okay.
I'll agree with you on a lot of things, but that's something. If you think that there was a crime with that had to do with the value of his properties,
To my point, you talked about the only lie that you think you've ever heard him tell was about Epstein that's coming up. And I'm sure you will explain that one away as well. And it's okay. I'm not an
I'm just saying, why don't they release the list? That's all I'm saying.
I'm not an anti-Trumper. I'm an anti-hateful spirited person, whomever that could be.
And he is hateful spirited. I get that. But from what I hear in person, he's not.
There you go. Explain it away.
From what I hear, that's what I hear.
But what you see is something different. But we don't believe your eyes.
Well, he's a showman for sure.
Don't believe your eyes.
He's a showman. That's like saying Deion Sanders. Here we go. It's like saying Deion Sanders is the same person at home as he is on TV. You called it just a minute ago. You just did the same thing. That's part of his show. And that's Trump's show. But and I'm talking about Democrats that have talked to him, anybody who they say is completely different in real life. That's how they say he's a very kind. Well, the one thing that sticks out is that Robert Kennedy, when he was suing Trump years ago, Trump offered him and his wife a ride with them to Mar-a-Lago while he was suing him. Just because. He's suing him at the time. And he gives him a ride for free on his plane. Come on, let's go. That don't matter.
I wonder
good dude.
I wonder they offer a ride to the five guys in New York at the ice rink.
You still want to bring that up? Who charged them originally with the charges?
There you go, explaining it away. Even when he found out the truth, he didn't let up.
Well, no.
Yeah, go ahead, explain it away. Dude, that's your dude.
I don't want to speak about it. I don't want to speak about what he knew when he found out the truth. From what I understand, as the
what
charges,
you heard on Fox.
You're making me narrow-minded, and I'm not. So the what happened, from what I understand, these kids that went in Central Park were charged. He put out a full ad. Put them in prison or
asking for
death penalty. Is that what it was? Death penalty?
Oh, come on, it ain't like you just didn't realize it was a death penalty.
No, I don't. I honestly don't. I don't know enough about it, and that's what I'm saying right now.
Okay.
And I knew he took out that full page ad, and I knew it turned out that they were innocent. I don't know how he reacted after he found out they were innocent. I don't know of anything of that.
And
I'll be honest to say that no. What do you mean?
He still won't admit that he was wrong, or that he called for a death penalty.
I've heard him say he did. He said for the charges they were charged for, I wasn't wrong. I've heard him say that.
Oh, okay.
That doesn't mean that. That's going by the charges that they were charged with. Though.
And I want the
that's
viewers
fair
to know
enough.
I'm not checking out, but I just don't. keep beating the dead horse because that dead horse is dead. That horse is dead.
That horse is dead.
Yeah, that horse is
But
dead.
I mean, I just don't. I mean, I still don't feel like it's an example of him lying. I just don't.
Okay.
I really don't. Like Joe Biden.
Oh, gee. Now we got to lower Joe to make Trump right because that's our guy.
I mean, I can give you a list of lies he told. You want
He's
a
not
list?
our president.
All right, I'm just asking.
He's not our president.
That's what I would say too.
Yeah, and when he was there, I think he did a pretty good job, and I think he was noble, and I think he was not a mean-spirited. Now, there again, did I agree with all of his policies? Probably not. Did I agree with all of Obama's policies? Probably not. But I think the spirit of what they did and the leadership of the highest office in the world deserves a certain pedigree of a person, and not the, oh, I like it, oh, he's giving it to him. And that's not how you behave at that level, in Mark's opinion. But the only way I can change, I need to run for president. I'm not going to do that anytime soon. So it's his turn. Now, this whole, he's going to run for a third term and all that, and you guys, oh, I hate that. He's fine. Oh, shit. Trust me, it's coming.
Don't say you guys. I ain't on that.
Trust me, it's coming.
I don't think that should happen.
And the Senate and Congress, if they're still in control at the time, are going to figure out a way to say, oh, that's not what the Constitution meant. It meant consecutively. And they'll start making up all this other stuff on why he should be able to do it. Or he'll declare a war and then...
If he ran for a third term, I don't think America would vote for him. Just because...
It doesn't matter.
Because I just don't think they would.
It doesn't matter because when he lost, every place he lost cheated him. And this time, the Democrats who want to show how classy they are did not challenge one state.
Yes, they have. They've been arguing it. That's not true. That's not true.
Not one person has denied the election results that I've heard that just happened to say that he's not the president.
Immediately they haven't. But here's a question I have for you.
It's been...
Or, I mean, immediately they did, but now they haven't. At this point, everybody's accepted it. But immediately they were. Absolutely they were. But here's my question. This is my question to you.
Yes, sir.
So Trump vowed he was going to release this Epstein list, and he hasn't. He hasn't listed, and he says, oh, it doesn't exist. It doesn't exist now, they say. Everybody's pissed. Republicans are pissed. Tucker Carlson went out there and threw a big thing out. I mean, everybody. I think Joe Rogan said something about it. Yeah. So, you know, this is something the Democrats, I mean, you would think he would be like, look, he's a liar. He ain't putting out the list. He must be on it. First of all, I don't think that's true because I think if he was the problem, I think that Joe Biden would have put it out. Quite frankly, that's my opinion of it.
Maybe.
But what I find weird is Pelosi and everybody else ain't saying shit about it. That makes me wonder what's going on.
Every now and then, we just talked about that dead horse, right? Every now and then, when you realize that everything you say is just falling on deaf ears, you just stop talking. And you hope that maybe people in his own party could finally say, you know, man, time out. We've gone with you with all this stuff here. But they know as soon as they do that, he's going to assassinate them.
Pelosi's talking, just not about that. None of them Democrats are talking about that. That's what I want to know. Why ain't they talking about it?
Everybody's trying to get to 3 years from now.
Nah, I don't know. I think Trump...
Everybody's trying to get to midterm.
To midterm, you think?
They're trying to get to midterm because if
you think they're going to win? I don't think they're going to swing it.
I didn't say they would.
And you know why? I think Joe Miller's right about that. I think the extremes are the problem.
Okay.
Joe Miller, when I had him on here, he was talking about it. And it's the problem, I think, the extremes, because that far left and far right are never going to agree with the middle. It's just never going to happen. But that's who's doing the primaries. That's who's going to, like you say, the midterms here. The only people voting midterms are the true staunch. You know, everybody else kind of is like waiting for next 4 years to go vote again. You know what I mean? And that's a problem, I think. That's a serious problem that Americans need to get out and vote every election, every time. You know what I mean? I think that's a big problem, and it would solve a lot of this.
Well, if we were strategists, you know, this is a problem with the Democratic Party, that they don't have the tenacity that I think the other side of the aisle has. If we were bright, we would all go and register as Republican and swing the midterm and put who we want there, even if it was a liberal.
But don't you have to do that a year in advance or something, or 2 years in advance?
Okay.
Something like that. There's rules to it, right?
No, whenever you declare, up till the time that you can declare, you can switch your parties right up till you get to the primary. Once you lock in, then you're locked in. You can't switch back and switch back. You're in for that cycle.
Oh, okay. You would know more about that than I would. I wouldn't know.
But
I don't even like having to register personally.
But at some point, we get our pick for our party. You all get your pick for your party. But if we could help determine that these handpicks that are going to support blindly things that are harmful, that we feel are harmful to our side, the strategy has to change. And I just don't think, and hear me out, as bad as I think the Republican Party is at this point in time, we can't figure out on the Democratic side still how to beat them because we can't get out of our own locker room.
Well, no, the problem is that the Republican Party right now is the same as the Democrat Party 20 years ago.
Okay.
That's the problem.
I'll buy that.
And I think that what happened is that the Republican Party took that, Trump basically took that spot. And once he did that,
See, I think Mitch McConnell started
everybody pushed far left after that.
Yeah.
You might be right. But I think that everybody on left even went further left just for, the one thing I'll respect Kamala Harris, which was kind of shady what she did, but the no tax on tips. She recognized something that was smart and just ran with it. You know, just because it's Trump don't mean they're bad ideas. And I think that there's a serious problem with that. And he has a lot of good things that he wants to do with China and things like that. I know the Medicaid and Medicare reform, I don't know exactly how that's affecting everybody. I do know that it does need some reform to it. I do know that. That what that reform is going to be, I'm not sure if he's on the right page for that. I would have to look deeper into it, but I do know it needs reformed. I mean, I had a 4-unit apartment building with 4 tenants, all under the age of 27, able-bodied, all getting disability. I just think that that's like a little bit too much. And I also think that mental health, you know, they talk about how bad mental health is, and they support these people for mental health and give them disability for it. But the problem is mental health would drastically improve with a good job, physical movement, exercise. You know, mental health is not good when you're sitting around the house. There was a woman that used to live underneath me when we lived in the apartments, a black woman, but she used to always tell me, idle time is idle mind. She always said it all the time. And I remember it. I remember thinking like, and I still to this day, if I'm not doing something, I'll jump up like I got to do something.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because of that, because of her.
I get it.
You know, and she was a Ford worker. Her and her husband both worked at Ford and lived in apartments. They must have just not been good with money. I don't know what that was.
I also got a boatload of it somewhere.
Maybe that could be. I remember thinking all the time, why are you living here? I mean, if we weren't, that was when my mom worked. So we were on the lake in those apartments. It wasn't the project housing or whatever it was from back in the day. But I mean, that fixes a lot of it, I think. And if you can force some of that to happen, I think that's a good thing. I'm not saying that part of the big, beautiful bill, and I still think it's hilarious that he's got everybody calling it that.
Ridiculous.
It's awesome, actually.
Ridiculous.
But I don't know if that part of it is set up to do what it needs to do 100%. But I definitely know that it's something like that needs done. Something needs solved.
But there was a time.
Something needs done with that.
There was a time that both houses would shake it out. We would do the things that needed to be done. Then it would go into conference. And then the two houses would come together and try to shake it out.
It's still going on. It may not be in the big, beautiful bill. But do you know Mike Johnson has done, what was it, 120 since he hasn't been in that long. 120 he helped pass Democratic bills. Democrat-led legislation. Look into it. It's either 118 or 120. He hasn't been in that long. Now, granted, Republican legislation's been closer to 300, That doesn't mean he's not working with them. Clearly he is, if he put 120, and he helped get them through. So,
well, I appreciate the magnitude of the number that you just shared, but if it's simple stuff like today is Thursday, then it's meaningless stuff. We need stuff that's really causing harm to one side or the other with this sliver of a split that we have in the two parties. There's got to be some level of give and take. Even back to the Medicare or the welfare or whatever. I don't care if one side is saying, let it be 1 month, and the other side is saying, let it be 6 months. There's got to be compromise.
Sure, I agree with that. 100%. I agree with that. I don't disagree with that.
Yeah, that can't be all or nothing because we got control right now, because you won't always have it.
No, I agree with that 100%. That there's nothing that's, and I think that's how everything should work. I don't think that there should. I don't even like the party system. I don't know how you beat it, but I don't like it.
We've talked enough politics, but it's going to be interesting to see what happens with this Musk thing, because Musk he has the wherewithal to truly give credence to an additional party and pick off some areas. And it's already a razor thin sliver.
But it turns out like Clinton. That's how Clinton got in office. But his original was Perot. Remember, Perot took a lot of votes from the right side. And if he opens that party up, it could take a lot from the left or right. It doesn't mean it's going to work in your favor or mine.
When it's such a small sliver,
yeah,
as you said, the political system will never go back to the way it used to be under this current leadership. That could be a little wrinkle coming from a South African that could really dictate what happens in the United States of America.
Absolutely. I don't disagree with that.
So you got to watch what you're cheering for, because the pendulum swings.
Yeah. Are you an Elon Musk fan at all?
Not one bit. If I had
Were you before he was a Trump supporter?
If I had one of his cars, I would run it off into the lake.
Really?
Yeah.
Because of the Trump support, or just before that?
Because of the spirit.
What's the spirit?
Because of the spirit of who he became. The very people that supported them were the people that got burnt the most. With the chainsaw, with the tell us why you deserve to be here, with the you're all fired, and then we're going to see if we feel like bringing you back. There's a spirit that comes with privilege that, going back to the days of the Kennedys, Rockefellers, and the spirit was just very different of people.
It was still shady. It was just, we just didn't know about it.
I am not saying that politics didn't play. But what I am saying, it wasn't cool to be dogmatic and mean about how you treated God's people.
Is it more dogmatic to do it on stage in front of everybody, or to do it in the back rooms where nobody, and you're still doing the same thing?
I see what happened to Mike Pence, and I see what happened to John McCain. These are guys who dedicated their entire lives to what they truly believed in, conservatism.
Both that I supported 100%.
And their own people, because of some guy that they were sucking up to, is what we would call it here in the streets, gave them the finger and walked away and slammed the door in their face. I just think that's not cool. The spirit of that is not cool.
That's Trump, though. That's not Musk.
I understand, but I'm just telling you the spirit of current politics as a whole. I'm usually not an extreme guy.
Right.
I'm usually an essay answer versus a true or false yes, no.
Sure, right.
But this world that we're living in makes your behaviors can make me go cold to everything else that you represent, because the spirit of what you represent isn't coming from a pure place. I can disagree with you as long as it makes sense on how you arrive there. But if it means to be mean-spirited to people, I can't flow with you.
To be mean-spirited? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't.
And you know,
I mean,
Pence may have been a worse pick than Trump when it comes to some of his policies.
He was hardcore right. Hardcore right. Yeah, for sure.
But I'd rather deal with somebody who doesn't come across as being a complete jerk, and
Oh, I don't like that.
for people to say, oh, well, I'm not looking for him to be my pastor. And these are evangelicals who wants to have the pure heart of God, can find right in the way things are being done towards people. I don't know if I want to be bothered with their God at all.
I'd rather they did it in my face, though. I like it. To me, I think the back room is worse. In my opinion, at least I know what you stand for. It's in my face.
So, and this is going to shift a little bit. The biggest proponents of slavery came from evangelicals back in the day.
Yes.
Who wanted to use God as their reasoning, and their reasoning on what they were doing was right.
Mm-hmm.
And they're right back. A lot of them seem to be right back into that place to now justify it, because it's okay to talk about it and not be deemed as racist, because it's almost like the majority is there now. Just not cool.
I got it.
Cool.
Have you read Chaos?
No, I'm not.
Oh, you haven't read it yet.
I'm not.
So when I read Chaos, and this is a whole
Yeah,
different thing.
we just went another direction.
We're going a whole nother direction, but it isn't. It's still going to play on politics and race a little bit.
Yep.
But when I read it, the thing that stuck out to me was that Jolly West was doing the studies with mice rats, and he would put them in. The studies showed when he gave them acid and LSD that they would just make love all day.
Okay.
They would put them in a communal thing, give them acid, and that's all they do. That's it, right? Which is exactly what the Manson family did when they were giving them the same thing. It was the same thing as Jolly West. But when he did this report, though, it was mice that he said it was, and I assume that he did it on both, in my opinion.
Sure.
But then they switched it to speed. And then when they switched it to speed, they started killing each other in the communities. They put them in a communal thing in speed, and they would start killing each other. And my first thought, and it was the first thought I had, isn't that exactly what we did to the communities in America when we put them in project housing and fed them crack cocaine? No wonder the 90s were as bad as they were.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the same. It's sad. It's crazy to think that mice could have the same response as humans to that level.
Yeah.
And to see, and it makes sense, though. I mean, it is exactly what happened.
The funny part of that is, and I'm glad you made that transition, because Trump and them are going to do what they're going to do. We become buddies with Putin. After all my life, Putin has been nothing but the adversary, and Russia has been nothing but the adversary and all that stuff. But our real fight has got to be who's city councilor here in the city of Lorain. You know what I'm saying? So I hope we can get back to what's happening. But to your point, when you and I could ride down the street, whether it's Peel Hill, whether it's 21st, whether it's Fillmore Circle, and we could point out the crack houses.
Yeah. Why can't they? Right.
We know them, and it's their job to have the intel. And we just know that, Pookie across the street is the biggest dope man in town. Somebody's told the police about Pookie, because everybody's not his friend.
Right.
And we just let that go during the crack era like it was nothing to it. Matter of fact, some of those same dirty cops were Pookie's lookout people.
Probably. Yeah.
We're coming tomorrow. I'll make sure you clear it out.
Yeah, back then it was so different. Like 21st Street and like Crehor over there and stuff. They had a system, like a respectable business running.
Yeah.
Like they literally had lookouts. They had to set up. You drove. It was a drive-through deliveries. Like they were doing what they were doing, and they were. But I didn't realize. Guido's the one who told me that crime's way down from the 90s. I guess I didn't even realize. The 90s I spent. After I graduated, I just worked and went home every day, so I didn't realize it was as bad. And I mean, I knew I seen it on the news, but I didn't care. It didn't affect my life. I just was working and going home. That's all I cared about.
Crime is down because population is down, jobs are down, people have flown, gotten out of here. A lot of people going to Houston, Atlanta.
No, crime in the U.S. is down. From the 90s is way, 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 way higher than it is now. the 90s were specifically the height of
The crack era.
of murder in the U.S.
Yeah.
The crack era, basically, was the height of crime in the U.S.
And we were able to tout that in Lorain up until the last 18 months or so. But now more murders have happened here than happened over the last 40 years.
Yeah. I remember a time where there was I remember somebody died, I think by the tracks. And I remember the article said that it was the first homicide in 3 years or something at that time. And I remember thinking, really? In Lorain?
Yeah.
That's wild.
But you would make people on the outside think when you enter the city of Lorain, you better hide your kids, hide your wife. It's and it just wasn't so.
No, but then now there's
so.
dumb shit going on, like that drive-by that went on Tower.
Yeah.
And then that, was it a couple years ago at Oakwood Park or something went on. And it's horrible.
We're 2 hours in, man.
Are we? That's all
We
right.
are 2 hours in. How long does this show usually go? You got a very interesting show. Time flies by.
I just go. I don't care really. That don't matter.
Yeah.
We didn't even get to your college years yet.
No, man, it's overrated. It's overrated. I mean, honestly, the work that I do is, I love what I do locally, bro. I was blessed to have good parents that made a good name in this. My dad and my mom both come up from Tennessee. They met when they got here, but they both come from about 30 miles from different places.
Oh, really? I just assumed they came together.
No, they met when they got here at the skating arena in Elyria. That's where they used to hang out at. But with that, my dad's sister and her husband brought him up. He eventually got into Ford, one of the first African-American supervisors there at Ford. So we were Lorain middle class during my childhood, and church-fearing family, God-fearing family, had a family band, a large family because all of them came up, most of them came up, and everybody did good for themselves. So we became an established name. I was blessed to be able to kind of build on top of some of those things to give back. And now I get to see it happening with my kids.
And what are your kids doing?
So Mark Anthony is my oldest. He's Lorain City School graduate. Then he graduated from Lorain County Community College as an early college kid. From there, he went off to Morehouse College and got a degree in economics. So that's where his 4 years from. And from there, he went off to Mississippi School of Law and got his law degree. And he's back home, and he wants to be an urban farmer. With all that education, he wants to give back to the land and teach people how to be able to live from the land again. And I applaud that because he's passionate about it. He works with young people, loves young people. My daughter went early college as well, so she went to graduate Lorain High, then went on to community college, then went on to Ohio State and transferred into Cleveland State, and that's where she graduated with her undergrad in communications. Went off to Houston, got hired, and Houston's like a top 4 market in the country. She got a job with the #1 station and then one of the top 3 markets there. Became a digital manager, digital producer. Did that for 7 years. Then she got recruited away to come and run the whole media digital department for one of the largest, fastest growing churches in Houston, Texas, which is one of the largest, fastest growing churches in the United States. So she's an ordained minister. She's a graduate. She's now able to do kingdom work and make a living at it.
And she's got a voice too, right?
She does.
I remember hearing her years ago. She's got a voice on her.
Yeah, they both do their thing, man. We've been blessed. And I can go on. I mean, my brother's kids, success, man, and that don't come by accident.
No,
but our foundation.
Family values, for sure.
Yeah. My mom and dad really established strong foundational pieces for us and their parents for them. And our kids didn't rock the boat. Like I said, knock on wood, never want to bring any harm to anyone, but none of those left here before their time. None of them did we ever have to go prison, to visit or hold our breath to see what the judge is going to do with the rest of their lives. We've been blessed up to this point. Don't know how long that would last, but you'd think that some of the things that you put into them at birth is the compass that keeps them kind of grounded to where they need to be.
That mom and dad thing is so huge, though. Just having the mom and dad together is, I mean,
I can imagine there's advantages because I don't know any other way. Yeah.
Better moms and better dads, I'm sure, but and sounds like your dad was. I know you think the world of him and your mother for sure. But I mean, I just think when I look at that, like, I think that's one of the bigger problems in America, that we make it too easy to like just get a divorce and move on, you know, and not fight for it and not. And I think that it hurts the kids. I was raised by a single mom, but my dad was in my life. He was around. So I mean, and my Uncle Dale and I had men in my life. I wasn't just, but there's kids that grow up and there's really no men in their life at all. And that is a problem, because who teaches them how to be a man?
Right.
You know, at that point.
My dad never, ever have I heard him wake up talking about, don't feel well today, got a stomach ache, I think I'm going to call off. If he got on his feet, he was on his way out the door, and that was always his expectation. And my mom, if you had a little bit of a stomach ache, she said, well, it'll get better.
Right.
Get your clothes on and get on to school. And that was just never an option. And the days that we had to miss, even if we were really down, and I'm just using school as one example, life was so unbearable being home that you would rather go to school with one of your arms severed off than have to stay home and deal with. So she just wanted to be sure that you weren't just dogging it.
Sure, yeah.
And those are just ethics, man. It's not. Now it's like, oh, he's went 4 days this week. We're just gonna let him stay home for Friday. That boggles my mind.
Did you ever wonder if it's just that they're like, because how many brothers and sisters you have?
There's three of us.
Three of you.
Three of us.
So you guys go off to school. That's mom's time.
Could be, but mom worked.
Oh, your mom always
and
worked.
Dad
Oh,
worked,
okay.
yeah.
I didn't know your mom worked too.
Until her, because my mom is legally blind. So she worked up until her disability kicked in, and then she stopped. But
okay. So then she
was
worked. It didn't matter.
Right.
Okay.
Then she was at the churches and just volunteering and doing all that kind of stuff.
I got you. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not too many. I just assumed, I guess, that your mother didn't work because your dad had a good job, so she didn't need to really by rights.
That's their pedigree.
Yeah.
Her mom worked. Her sisters worked.
Wow. Back then, that's way back then.
I mean, she had sisters working. One was a nurse. One worked at Fisher Guide, which was the GM plant. The other one, she worked at a florist and did other odd jobs. My grandmother worked as a cleanup for a couple of the doctors that were living in Elyria at the time. And my mom was at Meyer Goldberg.
No kidding.
Yeah, my mom was at Meyer Goldberg.
Meyer Goldberg. I ain't heard that in a long time.
Yeah, Meyer Goldberg. That was it.
Yeah.
And then
wow.
I worked she did at the church, and she still has some of her long-lasting friends from Goldberg.
Yeah, you know, my grandma worked at. Well, I had a grandma that worked at Fazio's, but my stepmother's mother worked at Fazio's.
Got it.
And her friends were all big. Like they were always, they were real tight. Yeah. That's part of what we're talking about with that social program. Like that to me is the best. And Ronald Reagan, that's for borrowing it from Ronald Reagan. The best social program out there is a job.
Yeah.
So I think it would help greatly with depression if people did that. That's my opinion of it.
Yeah.
So I don't know that I agree with all of that part of it, but I definitely think that I'm not saying that I agree with the big, beautiful bill. First of all, I don't think any bill should be big. I think every bill should be able to fit on one page, and if you can't fit it on that page, then it's got to be another bill.
Go back to a meeting, huh?
That's how I feel. I mean, I don't know why we have to, because it's not fair to add a bill out there where you put it in
and pork it up.
Yeah, it's not fair. It's not fair because you could say, oh, this guy voted against giving veterans a raise. Yeah. Well, meanwhile, you said something about murdering kids in it, too, at the same time.
Building bridges to nowhere.
Right. So
just to make the job.
One page would be great. One page would be awesome.
Yeah.
So you own 89.1. 89.1.
WNZN, yes.
And that's the radio station for gospel hip hop?
No, it's just gospel. I mean, inspirational.
I thought it was hip hop.
No,
gospel.
We do urban, but
urban.
It's not hip hop.
That's what it is. That's the word urban. I'm sorry, urban. I thought it was hip hop. I'm sorry.
But we've only got the one, so you have to be almost all things to that genre. So from the older heads to the kids, you got to try to make something interesting for all of them, because we're a family-oriented type of radio. So from grandma to mom to the kids in the back seat, you've got to try to touch on all those emotions of all of those people, keeping it clean and keeping it exciting enough to keep them dialed in.
Yeah. Yeah. You like that? Is that your favorite thing?
I love it. I've been offered more money to do different things, because if you just want to make money, you put on country and put a tear in the beer, and you can make more money around here doing more than anything. But when you can talk and help shape a community, and you can give a voice to people who are already not very trusting, and you can bring people in that can give them counter opinions, and then we can kind of referee and call balls and strikes on either side, you become a pretty big deal into how you're shaping the community and what's going on abroad in a community. So people then decide that you're the place to come to when they need to have that kind of a conversation, to make sure everybody's aware, to those people who don't necessarily get it from the front page of a news article or from MSNBC or Fox or whatever those extremes are.
And you're starting podcasting now.
We are.
That's so big. It's almost bigger than anything now at this point.
It is. I mean, this whole era of technology, between the AIs of the world, between the podcast of the world, between the streaming globally, between play on demands. I mean, it's just, you got the YouTubes and the Spotifys, and once it's out there in perpetuity.
Yep.
I mean, it's just hopefully somebody will find this and go back and listen to everything else that's ever played on your podcast.
I think bots do that. I'm not sure. I had one time in Singapore, like overnight, somebody listened to every episode. I'm assuming it was some sort of bots of some sort.
Could be.
I don't know. I mean, but it was wild.
But somebody will call somebody and say, "Oh, Mark said the instead of the," and then they'll all dial in and say, "You said the," and it's like,
whatever.
Did you listen to everything else that I said?
Yeah, no, they don't care about that.
Yeah, no, they'll figure out their point where they want to be pissed off.
I like it too, because we got video, we could chop it up and then get it out there on social media. So a lot of times you get more interest with the social media that way than you would like just having a radio station.
Yeah.
And it's,
I appreciate you inviting me out here, because, it's like, we don't compete, man. We complete.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And for you guys don't know, he's one amazing contractor. And for the last couple of weeks, he's been helping me put together a mobile podcasting van that we're all going to use together. And he's open to it, and he got a set of keys whenever he wants them. And I just think if you need microphones or whatever, that's how we complete each other.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's how we help each other.
Yeah, that's
even when we don't
best.
Always agree on the same topics. I'll fight
it's
for
hard
everybody to hear.
It's hard for anybody to agree on anything, because everybody's experiences are different.
Correct.
And that's hard for at any aspect. And for me to pretend that I know what it's like to be in your shoes, or for you to pretend to know what it's just silly.
But it's fair for you to ask, don't paint everybody with the same broad
Absolutely.
brush. And that is a fair statement.
And that's
everybody has
fair for you to say the same thing to me.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the big problem, is everybody gets thrown into this big pot. But I mean, when you get a guy like yourself that, you've got a doctorate and you've been to college, you're educated, you sit on boards for the school, you've owned multiple businesses, you own a radio station now, you dress well usually. When you see someone like you, I don't think race even comes into play, because you're well spoken, you're well dressed, and I think that you get far more respect than I do, because I talk like an idiot. I can't pronounce half the words I pronounce. You know what I mean? I cuss a lot. I usually got dirty jeans on and work boots.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, people take opinions and they make different, and it doesn't matter. For the most part, in this city anyways, because we're fortunate to be from that city.
Yeah.
I believe that wholeheartedly.
Me too.
Even though McCann, our chief, is in trouble for being racist or whatever. Or no, he said, what did he say? He said, I wish I knew some dirty cops.
and we know it was tongue in cheek.
Don't we all wish we knew some dirty cops?
And we know it was tongue in cheek. So I just want everybody to be clear about that. We know that was tongue in cheek. But when you come in wound pretty tight already, people are just waiting for that one place where they can pounce on you.
Well, he admits he's an asshole. Everybody says he's an asshole.
He's direct and he is who he is.
Right.
He's direct and he is who he is. But I found him to be a good guy. Now, everybody was nervous when Sel was leaving and he was coming. But instead of running and hiding or declaring war against him, we went and started breaking bread together to get to know each other.
Right.
And he was still extreme in some of his ways. He probably thought I was extreme in some of mine. But we found more things that we had in common than we had that separated us.
What about Aaron Knapp? You like Aaron Knapp?
I don't really know him. I know I made his radar. I guess I'm on his radar. But it's so there's the Jim Smiths, there's the Aaron Knapps, and there's a group of people like that. But some of those people are designed to make us better.
Aaron Knapp, when he first was coming on, and I was seeing some of the stuff that he was talking about, he's not wrong about a lot of the things he wants to bring up. I will give him that.
And what he does,
but the way he goes about it is not going to get you anywhere.
I don't agree with everybody's tactics.
Right.
But before you open your mouth and verbalize things, you have to run it through the Knapp filter.
Yeah.
That makes you think a little bit harder versus just kind of throwing stuff against the wall. So that's my point. Not that I think that he's needed or necessary to always be the fork in the road or the break, but you prepare for those kind of personalities as you're designing your response or your ideals.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I don't disagree. I remember when I first ran across him, like I said, I wasn't against anything he had to say, but I just, then after I seen how he operated, met him, I'm just like, oh my goodness.
Yeah, you don't want anybody that's causing harm all the time, or it appears that their intent is to cause harm.
Well, there's no open-mindedness to have that conversation. You know, if you're narrow-minded, that's the one thing. You can never be narrow-minded and make good decisions.
Amen.
It'll never happen well. If you're narrow-minded, your decisions will be narrow.
Yeah.
And that's not what you know what I mean? You want to shoot with a shotgun, not a rifle.
I truly don't know enough about him. I really don't, because I've got my sphere of friends in social media, and I really fight into positivity and not negativity. So a lot of times things are going on and I'm like totally dumb to it or it's away from me because I just don't put any energy into it.
No effort.
Yeah. I'm like water, man. I find a path of least resistance to try to get more wins than to have to mitigate the losses.
So what are you all involved in right now?
I'm going to forget some of it probably. But National Association of Gospel Radio, I'm the chairman of the board there, which is just bringing life back to what gospel radio is doing across the world.
Okay.
Fighting for more stations to come on the air, fighting for more people to have a bigger, broader voice, fighting for AM to stay on where gospel is because they're trying to eliminate AM altogether. So that's a pretty big deal for me right now, just to try to keep the voice prevalent, even though I only affect Lorain, Northeast Ohio. There's a need everywhere. Lorain City School Board, I've been there now 13 years. Went into that fight because of the state takeover, and I just thought that wasn't fair and that wasn't right to our community. We were successful getting our district, I don't know if we were the last or second to the last to go in, but we were first to come out, and the other two that are in still are kind of stuck. So we're pretty happy with that fight, and though we've not completely fixed education in Northeast Ohio, education is being challenged all over the globe, especially all over the United States, especially in urban districts.
I heard in the 90s, the Ohio School District was one of the best in the country.
I don't doubt that.
I didn't know that.
I don't doubt it.
Yeah, in the late 80s, early 90s, we were. That's who told me that? Was it Tony or was it Joe Miller? It was one of the two. Told me that's a statistically.
I didn't know that.
I didn't know that either. I'm shocked, but
vouchers didn't help. The money grabs didn't help. Charter schools, though I understand the purpose of some of them, didn't really help. They would take our kids, they would take the money. And then when our kids didn't perform there after the money expired or after the date expired that they didn't have to send the money back, they'll then send the kids back. So the kids have lost 4 months worth of learning, that we've got to try to slow down our kids' learning that stayed with us to catch those other kids up. It's just it's a bad formula all the way around. For years now, they've said more than 25 years now that the way we fund schools is illegal in Ohio, but we continue to fund them the same way and still cut. And now they're changing what's happening at the feds on education, trying to get rid of that. And a lot of the people in Columbus have no kids, never put kids through school, but they've been able to get AI to put together some good scripts for them so they get the good jobs, and they make poor decisions for the kids. Because I don't think a kid in Orville whose family owns a farm has the same challenges as the kid in Avon Lake whose dad owns Bendix, or the same kid in Cleveland whose mom is doing the best she can, just trying to keep the lights on.
Right.
And then give them.
I have to pause. I got to use a bathroom.
Oh, very good. Do I sing a song, or do you got a music bed?
You want a music bed?
Yeah, put a music bed on.
I could do that.
Yeah.
We'll go.
See, let that be a lesson. When you're the podcast director and you're the main, you can't drink too much coffee.
What we've been going on.
And we are back. I don't want to take over your show, brother.
Did the music come on?
It came on and it was doing the thing. Yeah, then it just went away.
Oh,
but
I didn't have it looped yet.
Yeah, I heard you coming through, so you're good.
All right, good.
But we ought to be wrapping up anyhow. I'll come back. I promise I'll come back. Or
You just
still
got to let
further
us
go?
all know everything else you did. The school board.
Yeah, okay. School board. I'm on. So I'm on the sewer and water board. I am now the current chairman of the sewer and water board here in Lorain. And I don't know if you know where that came about, but sewer prices after they did the dredging pipe and the storage units and all that started shooting way up in Lorain. And Lorain does things a little bit unique. So if you're a renter, you don't have to get the water in your name. It stays in the name of the landlord, which landlord doesn't know you haven't been paying the bill. Then all of a sudden you move out, the landlord is stuck, which is kind of unfair. So everybody was just trying to get rates regulated. And I was vice chair since its inception, and now I'm the chairman of that board. So for the city, I was appointed by Jack Bradley for that. I am also on the PACE Foundation board, which is the foundation that was started back in 2006. We had 21 shootings in 19 days here in Lorain back in 2009.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and we had a group of guys that met at our church with the police chief at the time and the superintendent of schools at the time. A lot of this was going on over on 14th Street and Long and those places. So we got that group together and started working on those kids. Now that we birthed this organization called PACE Foundation and the 100 Men of Lorain County. So I do that. Shucks, I should probably read my own resume because there's a lot of stuff that I do. I am a founding member of Greater Victory Church. I am a member of Faith Ministries Church that's now combined with Faith Ministries and Greater Victory. Urban Farms, Urban Awareness is my son's company, and I help him out as best I can there. On Marksan Records, which is my record company, and Marksan
How much
Music.
do you do that anymore? Still a lot?
A lot.
Do you?
Yeah, thank God for
That's your
catalog.
true love, right?
That's my true love.
That's what I thought. That's what I thought it was.
Yeah. So, and I brought Blackberry Records, which is a childhood dream of mine because Blackberry to me is like the Berry Gordy or Motown of gospel, and I was able to acquire that one 4 or 5 years ago. And, my Marksan catalog is all mine. So if you know anything about the music business, the catalog is where you get to mine the gold. Over the years, it just kind of just keeps building and building and building. And with the add of the YouTubes and Spotifys and those things, it expanded even bigger than just when we were selling CDs and albums and cassettes. So that's helpful. Shucks, I know I'm forgetting something. But yeah, I do a lot.
Husband, father,
Yeah. I get to live with mom. Mom lives with me. As you all know, I lost my dad a few years back in 2020. Mom's been with me ever since, and that's kind of cool. Properties we own. We do some consulting, do some speaking engagements. We're put on a lot of panels across the country based on the experience we've had. Of course, I was in the Papa John's pizza business for many, many years. Went from 0 stores to 8 stores in a 3 or 4 year window. And I sold those back in 2002. Enjoyed that. Geez, and the one thing is going to be funny. So like LaCapsi, which is the school educators, right? I'm the chairman of that board. So it's minority school educators that really focuses on making sure minority kids are getting the things that they need to supplement their education to make sure they're up to speed and performing where the state says they should be. I'm also part of some boards on OSBA, which is Ohio School Boards Association. We do a lot of work with them. And we get called into other districts who are on the bubble, even in other states that are being threatened with takeovers from their particular state legislature to try to make sure that...
You're just constantly in meetings?
Constantly.
It sounds like you're constantly in meetings. I mean, you're on that's crazy.
Zoom calls, meetings. But it's kind of cool when people want to tap in. And my opinion is useless in my own house, but across the board, it's worth $1 million. So that was kind of a tongue-in-cheek joke. But yeah, it's kind of cool when people are saying, we know your experience has led you to believe and know that's what's going on. What would you do in this position? In this situation? Working on a couple books, working on a couple of other things that are going to be interesting that should be able to sustain.
That's cool.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
yeah. Life is good, but radio is a cool thing.
Health thing. What about your health?
You know what? I decided back in 2022 that I would get my health together. I was a bigger guy. I was a very fluffy guy back in the 90s and early 2000s. Got it together. Then I started fluffing up again. So I decided I was going to go and come back down in size. And I did that. I went from 247 pounds down to 200 pounds, which was my goal. And then after I met the goal, the doctor said it was okay for me to go a little further. So I went down to 180 pounds. And then my body took a turn on me, and it just started not taking on the nutrients that was coming from my regular food out of nowhere. It just kind of happened that way. It went down as low as 127 pounds. And actually today I'm 141, which I'd gotten up to 167, but it keeps fluctuating. But yeah, we're fighting that good fight.
You don't know what the reason is?
They don't know what the reason was, but what they did, I had a hole in my gut. I had a hernia, and my intestines from when I was a bigger guy was too long, my lower intestines. So they wanted to cut the lower intestines down, fix the hole, fix the hernia. Well, once they did that, we believe at this point, the intestines was cut shorter than it should have been. And so that did not give the food time to absorb. And so now they're doing things to try to slow the gut down, make the food absorption more. They had me on a feeding tube for about 6-8 weeks. With a TPN bag for a long time. They took me off. Then we started sliding in weight again. So they started trying to beef that up. And right now we're trying to give it to a Christmas run to see if they've got to try to go and do some other workaround or if the body will level itself off.
Correct itself.
Yeah.
God's pretty good. He knows what he's doing.
God knows what he's doing. I feel good about it. Now, what that did make me do, with all the busy that I do in the meetings that you discuss, slow down a little bit. So I went and got me a new friend, and his name is Bishop. He's a 13-year-old Rottweiler puppy. I went out with a friend on yesterday on a boat, and I fell in love with the water again. I went from 0 rods 3 months ago to I probably got 6-8 pretty good quality rods. So I was fishing from the bank, but my buddy Sanford took me off into the boat, and I didn't rest well last night. So I'm looking for a boat. If you know of any good deals, find me one. I'm looking for a boat.
Really?
Yeah.
So I should sell you my boat.
Well,
I don't ever get to go to it.
As long as you're not trying to hit the lottery, I got to ease into it. So yeah, I bought a couple buses this past year. So I've got a transportation bus and I've got an entertainer bus, and I'm looking to pick up another 1 or 2 of those. But the boat might be the next addition to the house. Yeah, because you only got this window of time. But yeah, we went out. He's at Beaver Park, so we went out maybe 5 or 6 miles and just shut it down, and started casting down about 45 feet.
It's all right.
And
I'm not a fisherman. I don't fish.
I'm going to fish.
I need to start, but
I've been out probably 7 times this year, and yesterday was the first day I got to bring anything up.
Oh, really?
What a rush.
What a rush. Probably limited out, right?
No, I didn't. We brought up 3, and 1 was too little.
Okay.
It was a walleye. So, but you know me, I come from a family. We like cat. Some people don't eat cat, but we like catfish.
I like catfish.
Yeah, that's Lorain proud.
Well, when I was a kid, because my mom was with Herman Benjamin back then, and they ate sheephead.
Wow. Now we would put sheephead in the garden to fertilize.
That's what my grandpa would say. But
white bass was our thing.
It wasn't that bad though. I've had it. They would leave the bones in there.
Yeah.
It wasn't that bad.
Sheephead and carp were the fertilizers.
I would definitely not eat it. I definitely would not choose to eat that.
Yeah.
But yeah, they would eat them all the time. They'd be like, no, don't throw that back.
Fish is a fish.
Yeah, they eat it. They didn't care. The Benjamins didn't care.
Yeah. I mean, if you could put it in grease, I can put some Lowry's on it.
Oh, yeah, it was good. It was good. It was better than I thought when I tried it.
But, that's the uniqueness of certain people. Man, we make chitterlings taste good because when that's what you got, you figure it out, and then it becomes a delicacy inside of a community.
Yeah, absolutely.
Some people eat pig brains and souse meat or cow brains and souse meat, but it's a delicacy in some places.
I used to eat a lot of that stuff when I was a kid.
Yeah, liver cheese. I mean, it's like...
We'd get it at that little market on 28th Street. We'd walk over from the project. We'd get, they'd slice it for us. Put it on crackers.
And all of a sudden, we got a little bit bougie as we get older. But, it's like, I still like to go back and get me a good peanut butter and jelly sandwich.
Yeah, but I don't think I can bring myself to eat sauce.
Really?
So.
I was never a big sauce fan. But my Medill across the street used to make it.
I used to eat it all the time, and then was it Herman or Tyrone? One of them told me, they said that you're eating hog head cheese.
Yeah,
I go,
which
I couldn't do it no
They
more.
messed you right up. Yeah, some things just best not to know.
Right, absolutely.
Just best not to know.
All right, we'll have to do this again. I've had a lot of fun.
I look forward to it, man.
It was fun. I know Tony wants to come back on too.
Yeah, Tony's full of knowledge. Yeah, he's full of knowledge. Great guy.
I think you're one of the better kept secrets from a lot of the. I mean, in the circles, everybody knows who you are, but I don't think that the average Joe who knows who Mark is in the area. Yeah. You're kind of like the.
Yeah, I stay to myself. I stay kind of quiet,
But everybody knows. And who needs to know?
I try to do the work, and then I try to applaud and let other people share the light. Yeah, I'm not a big light sucker. Don't have to. I get gratification knowing that we were able to help.
That's awesome.
Honestly, that's the truth.
Well, I appreciate you coming in.
Thank you for having me, man. And yeah, we've got to reverse.
We're going to get out of here.
Yeah, we got to reverse and bring you over and get that van on the road. Let's go.
Yeah, let's do it.
Thank you guys for paying in or checking in and paying attention. And if I've said anything to piss you off, blame it on him.
Peace. Oh, I didn't even have it up all the way to volume. So that caused a problem in itself. That's the wrong one. We don't want that one. Ito's gone.
That's fun.
Now if I can get it out of here. There we go. We're out of here. Peace.